this afternoon Motueka Community Board meeting. We'll just start with karakia. We'll try and get it on the screen, but I'll just read it from here. Kia tau, mai te maramatanga, kia tau, mai te rangimaria, kia tau, mai te kaha, me te whai whakaro, mo tēnei kaupapa, hui e tā ki. So let's be grounded in clarity, let's be peaceful, let's be strong and considerate for this purpose, bind us, and so it is. So I'll just quickly introduce some staff members we have with us today. So everybody knows Mr. Kirby. We have Elaine Stevenson. And next to Elaine, we've got Rowena. So they're helping with the technical side of things today. And we have got Gavin Dawson over here, who's our governance advisor. So he's effectively our new Emma G, who used to be the secretary for the board. And Gavin's, he's going to wear multiple hats, but he's going to be supporting both Motueka and Golden Bay. So we're really pleased to have him along. Also like to welcome Councillor Ellis, who often makes the way over here to attend our meetings for the specific purpose of hearing from the Motueka community. So when she's around the council chambers table, she understands what the community are wanting and their concerns, etc. And of course, Golden Bay Deputy Chair Knowles, who also attends every single one of our meetings. So we really appreciate that, to have that relationship between the two boards. We've got no apologies. So declarations of interest, have we got any? Nope. No late items. We'll just do confirmation of minutes from the last board meeting. I just have a mover. So Deputy Chair Hart, seconder, Board Member Armstrong. Everyone okay with last meeting's minutes? Say aye. Aye. Anyone again? No, carried. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move into public forum now. And on my list first, we have Linda Jenkins and Larry Lumsden around Tasman Bay Blue Penguin Trust. Yeah. Still having
Thank you very much, everybody. I've drawn the short straw today. Larry is here on my left as support. My name is Linda Jenkins and I'm with the Tasman Bay Blue Penguin Trust. What I'd like to do today is to highlight the conservation and survival stresses being experienced by the little penguins in the Tasman region. And I'm covering Tasman Bay as well as Golden Bay. The current conservation status for our little penguins is at risk and declining. And the biggest impacts that they have, the biggest challenges are by humans. We've got residential development along the coast, so that there is a substantial loss of valuable centuries-old habitat. There's an increase in dog numbers on our beaches, which produce fatal attacks on our penguins. There's an increase in traffic around our coastal roads. There are more cars going faster. Car strikes kill and injure our penguins. There's an increase in boat and jet ski traffic. Boats kill and injure our penguins. And there's an increase in feral cats, which predate on chicks and adult penguins. I've got two videos to show you today. The first one is a short 5-minute documentary that was produced last year for us, and the second one is a TV1 news item. So if they could be played, that would be great. The reason we were attracted to penguins, they were the inspiration from the point of view that they are so small and they battle so hard to survive. They've got so many challenges, and a lot of those are imposed by us, by humans, that they just need a fairer deal.
we've got to learn to live with our little blues. And yet they, in their own right, they've adapted really well to what we've imposed on them. But we need to do better to live with them.
The biggest animal threats to penguins when they're present on land is a whole suite of mammalian predators that we have. The mustard, stoats, weasels, ferrets, cats can eat penguins, rats, billy birds, hedgehogs, and possums have been seen down in penguin burrow, possums and birds, young birds, dogs. The single most significant and preventable cause of death in penguins and urban areas. Even the supposedly best controlled dog, it gets a scent of penguin blowing from.
Can we go a bit louder, please?
Dog. And a dog will be in there and the clip, top and out again in 20-30 seconds. If you want to be quite certain that your dog is never going to kill a penguin, then the dog needs to be on a leash at all times.
So one of the challenges that the penguins have is that our residential development is encroaching on their habitat, and it's getting more and more. The first houses came along and generally they were on stilts, and so the penguins adapted. They thought, I can nest under there. And then what's happening now is that we've got more and more houses coming, and they're not on stilts anymore, they're on concrete pads, and so that's impossible for a penguin to adapt to. The encroaching residential development makes nest boxes really quite important in the whole scheme of things, because with residential development come people and come dogs, and dogs are very interested in penguins. The nest box just creates a little fortress for the penguin, and they can better defend themselves there. It's not 100%, but it's better. Where the public or beachgoers can really help this whole process is they can support beach cleanups, they can support predator trapping, and they can also sponsor nest boxes. The latest couple of penguins we had in for rehab got the nickname of Paddle and Snapper. The story was some people got up one morning and they had an outside bath, and lo and behold, here are a couple of very stressed penguins. And what had happened overnight, in their frantic panic to get out, the male penguin had ripped one nail out completely, and the female had worn two nails right down to the quick. It's a very sensitive part. Their feet were cleaned up and bandaged for a couple of days. They were given antibiotics as a precaution to prevent infections, and they were given about a month to just get the nails healed sufficiently that they didn't keep re-bleeding. I had a special aviary and a pool complex where we rehabbed them. We also gave them plenty of fish so that they went back out and find body weight. So if people come across an injured or sick penguin, the best thing they could do is call the dock hotline, and where possible, keep them warm, keep them dark, otherwise just stay with them. As far as protecting them, you know, if you're out on beaches and whatnot, keep your dog on a leash.
Tasman district, the dogs to be kept on leash after a spate of attacks on penguins. Thought 9 have been killed by dogs there since October, and a warning Jessica wrote the story includes images of dead.
Hundreds of penguins call bays like Little Cape Teddy Teddy home, but a spate of lethal attacks has professionals questioning their safety.
I wasn't kidding. Yeah, devastating for them to know they actually were. Just to look at the photos, I could tell it had been a pretty awful death.
9 penguins have been killed since October. 3 were found dead just last weekend. 2 of them had been monitored for 3 years.
This pair in particular are fabulous breeders. They've done really well and they try so hard. And to come to a end like that is just, it's just not acceptable.
The Department of Conservation classifies little penguins as at risk or declining, saying the greatest risk is from dogs.
From the postmortems, the evidence is that it was a dog attack. Unfortunately, we're seeing this more and more.
Penguins are protected by the Wildlife Act, so dog owners who break the law could face fines or jail time.
You have to be able to identify the dog, identify the person. That's very, very difficult to do, but not impossible.
And there are rules in place.
You have to have your dog under control. You have to have your dog in a line of sight, responding to your calls or on a leash.
Nest boxes have been set up to protect the penguins. No one home? But there's calls for better monitoring, mandatory leash wearing, and more dog parks.
Our very real risk is that the penguins here will become locally extinct.
These penguins have been rehabilitated by Mana Stratton, and it's the kind of work she'd prefer to be doing.
It's gut-wrenching, you know. The fact that I'm getting so many, that's really, really getting tough.
While concerns remain for the penguin population left behind. Jessica Roden, One News.
There are calls in the Tasman district for dogs to be kept on leash.
Turn again now. So it's pretty blunt and it's pretty grim, what we're presenting today. What we're looking to the Motueka Community Board and Council is for increased awareness and provision to protect our native species in 3 key ways. Firstly, to build protective measures into planning and building resource consent to preserve habitat. To improve their protection via bylaws and enforcement. And to make protection of our native species a priority, to show conservation leadership on behalf of our community and be inspirational to the rest of New Zealand for positive conservation outcomes. That's what we're asking. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to take.
Yes, thank you, Linda. Are there any questions from?
We're actually asking of us as a community board today.
What I'm asking with those 3 key things is to make conservation a priority for our native species. I can't see where we have a native species environment, their habitat, where we allow one of the primary predators of that native species to have right of way on the beach rather than the penguins and other bird life.
Motueka Community Board doesn't actually have a lot of power in a number of aspects that you speak of, that I understand. But I may be wrong, of course, but yeah.
Information to council, and you are community influencers. Councillor Walker.
Totally.
Yeah, thank you through you, Chair. Thanks for your presentation. One of the things that you've asked us to consider is the increased awareness. What approach do you think would be helpful for council with doing awareness on the little blues? I know that we've managed to get a few signs scattered here and there. Is there anything else that you've thought of, your trust, that would be helpful for us to do a letter of endorsement or support or something on?
One of the key things in terms of communication is to have consistency with our signage. There's a lot of signage out there, but there are various messages, and it can be very confusing for people who are going to the beach. Also, education in any way that you can through the communication platforms would be really good. And I think just being aware of our native species and making them a priority. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. I think it was a couple of years ago now, you organised that evening at Kimiora, I believe, which was really educational. Myself went, and I think a couple of others went. Trindy was there. Are you planning on doing any more of those as part of the education?
We did another one that same year. We did it, that was June last year, and we did another one here in this room in October. So we've done 2. We'd certainly, we'd do them wherever.
Where are they advertised?
We advertised those ones, they were in the Guardian, as well as on our Facebook page. I recall. But if they were advertised, and the one that was here was advertised via the library communication platforms as well.
Thank you. Well, the board will be discussing later in the board section around forum, so thank you. Mr. Williamson.
The chair and members of the community board, members of the public. Number 1, I've got Mapua pedestrian underpass, providing safe access to the bus stop primarily for school children, floods during rain events, preventing children from using it, and necessitates them crossing 100 km/h highway. Would the community board please encourage some remedial action, please? I've got a photo at the bottom illustrating it. Flooding. Number 2, I would be interested in any news regarding the possible action on the Parker Street Twin Oaks problem, please. And number 3, in a recent press newspaper, an article mentioned the inspection of several high school technical rooms not being adequately ventilated, causing health risks to the students using them. No mention was made of our Tasman or Nelson high schools being inspected. Is it something the community board could initiate for the safety of our students? Thank you, Lady Chair.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Williamson. So I can just quickly say for point 3, outside of the community board, but with my Motueka High School board head on, I can certainly take that back to Motueka High and look into that for you. And I can check in with you later regarding the Parker Street Twin Oaks, because that's still under discussion. Were there any other comments from the board? Questions? Right, and we'll discuss the other part in the board section. Thank you. Yeah. Mr. Hellier?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, community board members, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. I wondered if the board actually listens when I speak to the forum. It was confirmed last month that it didn't. I spoke some time ago about derogatory and possible defamatory statements about Mr. Stevenson and myself on some council documents related to the Peach Island issue. During the following debate, a board member shouted comments across the floor that were unrelated to the point I raised, e.g. the derogatory and possible defamatory statements. However, the board chairman heard my points and handled it competently. When next I spoke to the board, the point I tried to make then was of a senior council staff member who made erroneous or untrue comments in our newspaper. Because the point I made was related to the Peach Island issue, those untrue and erroneous statements were not considered. Last month, I raised points in the public forum related to the challenge made to board member Hughes for a bare knuckle fight. In the following debate, Mr. Hughes stated he was reluctant to talk about himself, and the debate continued in that vein. The points I wanted the board to consider were ensuring the safety of Motueka residents and ratepayers from a menacing council compliance officer. 2, consistency in deeming a person as dangerous. Some time ago, Mr. Stevens, having had a forceful conversation with a compliance officer, was deemed a dangerous person and had a non-molestation order spitefully placed on him. My contention was and still is that the council has a selective morality over persons acting in a threatening manner. Last month, I stated that the primary purpose of the council was to serve and protect its citizens. I asked the board to ask the council to ensure that residents and ratepayers were advised to have support persons present prior to the visit to their property by this menacing compliance officer. So I'm asking the board to revisit and consider the primary points of my speech at last month's meeting in conjunction with the points I've made this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hillier. Do you want to table your notes just so that we've got it complete when we discuss later? I know generally what we do is it gets
Yes.
focused into it, but I'll just
Yeah,
grab it now
and hope-
so that we can.
And hope that it will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schaffner.
Two weeks ago, we had this news article here titled "Businesses Concerned Irregularities Spark Aerodrome Investigation." In that, we can read that the chief executive doesn't want people to be nervous about the situation. She said, "I want them to have confidence." I mean, how can she possibly expect that people have confidence when in the same article she said, quote, "There were some assumptions made many years ago around the operation and whether they needed consent or not to operate," quote end. I mean, it's shocking that council, as the owner of the aerodrome, allows the operation to be happening on assumptions. If I want to park a caravan on a paddock in the middle of nowhere, I have to follow all rules and regulations. And even if I follow all the rules and the regulations, council still has an issue with that. But on the other hand, the operation of an aerodrome is based on assumptions, according to Ms. Ray, assumptions. But that's not the only thing that's concerning to me about this. Here's another article from March this year. It describes how the council tried really hard to withhold a substantial amount of information regarding the Motueka aerodrome. In here, the council said there is, quote, "worrying trend of individuals using the Lagoima process to tie up council resources as a method of expressing dissatisfaction. The council has been the receiving end of an organized campaign to disrupt service." Excuse me, but that's unacceptable. The purpose of Lagoima legislation is transparency, accountability, and public participation, is in section 4 of Lagoima. We have people in our community that committed a lot of their time. Then they found out some shady business, or council calls it irregularities, and then they report this back to council. And the result is that these people are labeled as performing an organized campaign to disrupt service. I mean, the last line in this article from 2 weeks ago, Ms. Ray said, "It's just disappointing that we didn't pick up the issue ourselves," quote end. I mean, how does it even make sense, right? Someone asked the council, "Please give me a bit of information." The council collects the information, looks through the information, and in some cases decided to withhold the information. And Ms. Ray said, "It's just disappointing that we didn't pick it up ourselves." I mean, the information was right in front of you when you made the decision to withhold them or to release the information. How could anyone believe a single word that Ms. Ray said in this news article? But in the community board report, you always have this section at the end about correspondence list, about people sending emails to you or back or so forth. And since the beginning of this year, there were a lot of items about the Motueka aerodrome. So I was interested and I wanted to have a better understanding of the situation. And I requested from council to release these emails to me. But then the council came back to me and said, quote, "Your request is considered frivolous and vexatious as it lacks any public value. The intention of the request appears to be to cause disruption, irritation, distress to the council and its staff. Quote end. I mean, seriously, it lacks any public value when the community tries to find out what's going on about an alleged unconsented activities on an aerodrome. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I would even go so far to say it's really hard to believe for me that what we see here is not deception or fraudulent concealment. And therefore, I would like to see from the community board that you advocate for the interest of the community. And these can be described in two simple words. Number one, transparency. Number two, accountability. And I already made another request for official information to the council to release the documents related to these called irregularities. And I would like to see that the board supports me in this so that the documents I requested are public, because the community needs to know what's going on with the Motueka aerodrome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are you happy to table all?
Yep, no problem.
That would be great. Have we got any questions or points of clarification?
Well, just to clarify, so you're bringing up the issue of how the council are dealing with potential consent issues with the aerodrome, as opposed to their dealings with private people with their consents over minor issues such as caravans and ovens and that sort of thing. There seems to be a different way of going about things.
Yeah, you can call it a double standard. This was one issue, and the other issue was that information is not released to the public, so the public doesn't know what's going on behind closed door. That's the other issue I raised, yeah.
So you've had responses which are saying that you're being frivolous and vexatious.
Many of them, yeah.
Yes, I'm familiar with that. I, as a community board member, have received the same responses in requests to my questions. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. We'll
Thank you.
discuss that later in the board section. Okay. Thank you, board members, council members, general public, and other people I have no idea who you are. Thank you. I'm not so much doing a presentation or anything like that, but I'm just being a concerned ratepayer, in that keeping abreast of the news, I have read about some council auditors that are, well, the article was particularly about Tasman. And these council auditors they've been created by the government. So I'm sort of thinking, okay, that's a bit in-house. And they charged us last year $2,237 plus some $1,000 to do this audit report. And they are foreseeing that next year it will be $273 and a whole lot some $1,000. And a whole lot of questions came flooding into my mind, and I just want you as board members to really press upon the council that this needs to be transparent and accountable. Like, I want to know how much, like, I'd like an analysis sheet of what these auditors spend this large amount of money on. You know, do they charge out at $200 per hour? And then why is it that they cost us so much prior, and then say in this report that part of the increase is because they didn't charge us enough last time? And like, I go to a cafe and I get my flat white, and then the person behind the counter says, oh, I have to charge you $8 because I didn't charge you enough the last 2 times. Does that happen? Never, never. So it's kind of like their problem.
not ours if they didn't charge us, you know, as much as they ought to have. And that's where I'd like to know, where does this figure come from? And if they did such a good evaluation last time that cost over $2,000, why do they have to reproduce it and charge again? Like, isn't there any sort of like cut and paste that goes on? Because that would save a whole lot of dollars. And I realize that it is for our benefit in that it's about, like, we're quite a coastal settlement, so a lot of it will be on the understanding of what would happen if we were, you know, we had a tsunami or a flood. Very nice shoes there. I like those shoes. But anyway, so, and what the council ought to do, should do, and is being held up to do. So I understand that, but really, do they have to reinvent the wheel every year? And I'm now thinking, oh, I wonder how many times they have audited our council and how much has been paid. And so that's my request, is just to lean on you, to lean on the council, that there is transparency and accountability and that we get our dollars worth. I would really like to know that I've got over $2,000 worth of good substance. Thank you.
Any questions? Yeah, board members? Is you on board?
Yeah.
I'll elaborate now, or should we wait till board discussion?
I can elaborate now. The Office of the Auditor General has got to audit all the councils. And they send a whole team of staff in. I think during the audit, I think we had about 5 or 6 staff in our offices for about 6 weeks going through all the accounts. And we have to pay for all those staff. So that is why those costs are so high.
Golly, do you think we could start billeting them? Just a cut.
I suggest you write to the Office of the Auditor General and ask that question, because we're actually going back the same way and saying with these costs, you know, is there any way we can do it better? Is there another accounting firm that we can get in? So council's actually raising that with the Auditor General as well. And by all means, you do it too.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
We can do this together.
Thanks, Jude. Okay, so that concludes our public forum. We do not have any presentations, but we do have report. Oh. Do you? We will do the entry movement. Yes, sorry, how long have you been there? Because I didn't introduce you. Oh, I'm so sorry. So we have got staff member Lynn Hall here, who is going to take us through 8.1. So in reports, page 5. Thank you, welcome.
So tēnā koutou katoa. I'm Lynn Hall, Reserves and Facilities Officer, and I look after the Motueka and Golden Bay areas. So I have put up a report about a tree on Mountview Place that is causing concerns with neighbours. I'll take the report as having been read. So are there questions?
So I guess just in addition to that, we've got a wee PowerPoint just to get the whole board up to speed with the situation and what it looks like. So we have got a report in here from Treescape. Deputy Chair Hart and I have been contacted by the affected residents. We understand other board members in the past have been contacted, plus council, so it's sort of been an ongoing issue. They've been there for 6 years. So when on our first site visit to the property, it generally was a cul-de-sac. So, and there's a lot of retired people there. So it generated a bit of conversation. So we had quite a few of the neighbours coming and asking us what we were doing. And just go back to that first picture. In that very first slide, you will see one of the neighbours actually bought So just number one. The neighbours brought photos from when the subdivision was created, which was in the 90s. And so this is off Tree Wavis down Mountview Place. And the trees were basically 4 elm trees, wasn't it, Lynn? Four elm trees. 4 elm trees were planted when the subdivision was created. 3 have been removed, and we'll go through. We'll go through why. So where that blue arrow is pointing to once the tree was planted. The first picture, when you look down, the trees weren't planted. The house that is affected, which if we go to the second one, is behind that fence. So that house is a 1980s house. So it was there before the subdivision and the tree. And that was around 2 o'clock in the afternoon when we visited. So you can see it's shaded the house, which is the issue for the residents. If we go to the next slide, please. That's the next slide just shows the inside of the fence by the tree. It's just deteriorating a bit with mold. The next slide. So the reason the other 3 elm trees were removed is it was causing tarmac damage, which is it's down to get repaired at some stage, but I can't remember the details around that, but those are just some photos of that. So it's just to give you guys a bit more of a picture around what we're looking at in regards to the tree before we discuss. I'll just open the floor to discussion. Councillor Dowler, feel like you got something to say.
Yeah, I was going to ask Lynn a question. Have we got a budget to go around every 3 or 4 days and clean the mess up under these trees when they dump everything on the ground like they do down High Street, and the shoppies have to clean them up all the time? I think they're the dirtiest, most disgusting trees that we have. You go into the shops, they'll give you a shovel full of stuff and say, get rid of it, please. And they're doing that 2 to 3 times a day. On a wet day, they become slippery and dangerous. Comment and hear about a kid falling over and whatever in the report. Sorry, the tree's not got no sympathy for me, the way it is.
I can comment on that in this particular case is when Tarina and I went there, we were, as she said, we were greeted by neighbours. So there's an 80-year-old lady that comes out and sweeps the cul-de-sac of the leaves and puts it on the side. So because apparently the road sweeper doesn't go around there, or
well, apparently it did, but it won't now when the leaves get brittle because it chews up the street sweeper. So they avoid that area when there's heavy leaf drop. And
so there's an 80-year-old lady sweeping the road.
Join him.
Councillor Walker.
Thank you, through Chair. It states in the report, financial or budgetary implications. So if there's one tree, is that what that report is telling me?
Yeah.
So for one tree in January 2020, we've already paid out $855 to reduce problems.
Yeah.
And then in 2023, we've also paid out another $650 for the same tree.
$1,500.
And the proposal to remove the actual tree is $1,400, but that does not include the stump. Can I get a cost on what a stump removal would cost? Why is that not in the report? Because isn't that an actual cost if we were to decide we were going to eliminate one tree?
It is, but let's just quickly clarify for 11.2, the work carried out, which company carried that work out? Was that Treescape? In 11.3, the estimate, is that coming from Treescape? Okay, so I've spoken to 2 local arborists, both whom thought the reduction work was excessive and have both come back with quotes around 700 to 780 to remove the tree and down to as low as stump as possible, and 500 plus just to completely remove the stump. So pretty much half of what Treescape have quoted. And the reason why I checked with our local arborists is because in our last board report, pretty sure it was our last board report, we had a section in there around small community businesses feeling like they're missing out on local contracts. And so, so I asked them. And so, yeah, I was quite surprised that it's a lot cheaper if we work locally. Yes.
So I have two more questions, if I may, through you, Chair.
Mhm.
So if you grind it off, sorry for my ignorance, what happens to the roots under the ground? And my second question through the Chair is, how many other trees are we currently spending this kind of money on to appease residents?
Yes, certainly.
Many trees. We removed a tree every time somebody had a problem with leaves, a little bit of shading or branches falling over the fence. We wouldn't have too many trees left. And I think you can even just look around you at Dex Reserve. Virtually every one of our reserves has a number of trees. And I can assure you, most of them over the course of their lifetime will bring in some complaints from some of the neighbours. Trees are a real issue for us. We generally choose to manage the trees rather than remove them. We'd have a pretty denuded landscape, we think.
I guess it comes back down to, like, I think the tree is beautiful. It's a lovely tree, but it belongs in a park, not in what's classified as a reserve, which the arborist from Treescape said it was about 4 meters, but I think I've pasted out at 3. So it's quite close to that fence and quite close to the road. And it is quite a large tree. So it's quite significant. So it look beautiful in a park or out here, but in its current position, it's causing havoc for the 80-year-old lady and the neighbours that look out the window and see us sweeping the leaves, and that you all go out and do it together and start loading wheelbarrows and try and spread it around. But the main concern is for the residents on the other side of the fence whose wellbeing has been severely affected, which we've got a few cases like that, as you know, we're sort of trying to work through them, which is a point that the board made early on when we were starting our strategic planning around what our purpose is and what our focus is, and it is around community wellbeing. So I think that's why Deputy Chair and I were pretty keen to get this report, and I do thank you for pulling this together, Lynn, because it's quite comprehensive. Yeah, we can speak up if there's any questions around that. So it's up to the board to have any further discussion. Yes, Councillor Walker.
Yes, sorry. So going right back to the beginning, who planted the tree?
Council.
Right. So herein lies my problem.
Oh,
where?
Sorry, retreat.
They were planted through the chair, sorry, but are planted by the developer as a consent condition of that development, as you'll see a lot nowadays. That consent condition was for a number of trees to be planted. There were some elms, there were some, I think, copper beech trees and some prunus trees. So there was probably 8 large-sized trees planted in that little cul-de-sac, and that was by the developer as part of the development and was required as a consent condition.
So approved by council, yes, so planted by developer.
So if we were to eliminate this one tree, I've already heard that there's numerous other trees. Are we going to continue to get reports and have to continue working through this? And where is the learning for council when the consent team says that that's okay? Are we gonna stop the planting of inappropriate trees in the wrong place? Because the chair said it should be in a park, should be in a reserve, it shouldn't be in a residential area. Where's the learning that takes place? Because this cost is just gonna escalate. The minute we sign off on this, I bet your bottom dollar, there'll be another person in my community that comes back here next month, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. I mean, we've already had, you know, Jude share with us the cost of audit and risk. Our costs are phenomenal. Are we adding to the problem? Are we gonna eliminate the problem? And who has the power to do that?
I think you make a really good point around decision making, and I assume that has improved, because remember, it's been done nearly 30 years ago, that decision, so
Still planting trees.
we are, but my assumption is the decision on the trees that are being planted are better. Yes.
I can look at Memorial Drive down to the cemetery, and there's a bunch of liquid ambers planted all down the street by the developer. There's Titoki off another up of Memorial Drive. So I think we're repeating the same situation, to be honest.
When the consent comes through, are they not listing the trees there? Oh, they are. Okay, so what department do we speak to about making sure that they're a bit more thorough in confirming which trees can and cannot be planted?
Partially reserves will have a say in that. And I guess the consenting officer.
Okay. Yes, councillor Maru.
So just before we talk about the tree.
Yeah.
We have overwhelmingly criticisms of council of making decisions and approving everything. Now we're going to approve what trees a developer puts in. And if we get that wrong, so a lot of the criticisms I get is that we are so slow to get an answer, to get something approved. Where we're heading down this track is council wants to oversee and decide what trees go where in a development. Isn't that for the landscape designer to do and an overall landscape plan and development? I just think we're going down a path of more rules than less rules.
Totally get where you're going.
And I have some history with this tree because I was probably one of the $650 costs when it was raised with me about trimming back. So I have some sympathy for the tree. Can you just tell me there's no neighbours in there that want the tree?
We have not spoken to every neighbour.
Okay, because that's the other part is what does the rest of the community say? You know, because I have absolute sympathy for this tree, where it is and the impact it has on their house. But
Just on that point around how far does council want to go with dictating things, totally agree. However, there can always be, these are the most appropriate trees for this space, and these are the ones to stay away from, given our experience. In addition to that, Deputy Chair Hutt has looked at some of the other councils, and there's really clear guidelines around cannot plant within 10 metres of the boundary of a private property.
so more rules is what I'm saying. So
But I
in a-
mean,
in a
rules
time
that
where-
would save us money.
But that will be the same argument for every rule the council has. So but my caution is, I'm hoping one day we'll have a bit more rules and be able to do what we're doing properly if it doesn't affect somebody else.
Yeah.
The more rules we have, those rules we'll get, the less opportunities you'll have to do whatever you want. And
Do we have the issue at the beginning or again and again at the end?
I guess through the chair, it's just one other thing, whether it's trees, cycleways, roads, footpaths, drainage, sewage, the rules go on.
Yeah, totally.
And
Yeah.
whoever makes that decision doesn't mean it's the right decision.
Yeah. And I guess at the end of the day, it's really common sense over rules. You know, if we think about things thoroughly and think about the future impacts before we make those decisions, and regardless if there's a rule or just a guideline, that would be made for a much better community, in my opinion. Deputy Chair.
Yeah, just following on from that, councillor Maru. So the Hawke's Bay, doing research, the Hawke's Bay Regional Council, which has got 5 district councils with it, have got an environmental sustainable land management guideline, which clearly states that they do not allow trees to be planted within 10 metres of a private premises. So yes, it was wrong, but it's very clear. It's not confusing. It's in black and white. So whenever there's a development happening, there's guidelines to know where they can plant the tree, so we're learning from right from the start rather than the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. It's so with TDC had a similar document. There's no sort of grey areas really. It is if you're building a subdivision, then you can't build a big elm tree, 3 meters from somebody's fence. I mean, that seems to be quite simple.
One of the, yes, councillor Joe.
Can I ask you to read that wording again? You said 10 metres from the premises, or was it 10 metres from the property? So premises is possibly the house that you live in, the property is the fence. So
10 metres setback from the residential boundary.
you didn't say that before.
Sorry, 10 metres setback from, I can give you a copy of this.
No,
Yeah.
clarified it.
Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. I'm not trying to add to it because I'm just trying to picture any subdivision I've seen recently had a tree 10 metres from boundary. But the other thing just to bear in mind as we're all setting, because I understand the frustration of trees in road reserve. I have a number out the front of my house who council won't remove either. But
You need to bring it to community.
but that's fine, because what it does do is trees can have a significant impact on the temperature on roads, and it can have an impact of up to 10 degrees. So while we're considering rules, and I totally understand why, the other side of the coin that we also need to bear in mind is without those trees, those streets actually can become quite unbearable to be on, and they can have up to a 10-degree impact without trees.
There's no footpath aligning this reserve where the tree is, so it's not actually providing any significant shade.
I think in regards to the rule, not.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I can't remember, but when I skimmed through that, when you sent it, I think that does specifically speak about roading, and I think in there, they had it to be shading the road. So it had to actually, I can't remember the details, but yeah, so is there any further input before we move a motion? Absolutely.
I'm just doing a quick research on our land development manual. We have specific criteria on what trees are to be planted on roads for various reasons. Number one, protecting the infrastructure in the road, the curb and channel, footpaths and the like, and also location to boundaries. So we do have requirements there and specific types of trees required. Most of the trees have got the deep taproot type trees as opposed to the ones with the roots spreading out. So the land development manual has that criteria. So my question now is to check with the reserves team as to whether the trees that are being approved actually comply with their land development manual.
So that's 2020.
This is the land development manuals 2020 revision 1, which is still applicable today.
Yeah.
That's the one we worked
Yeah. So potentially that's just come in the last.
Oh, yeah. What I'm saying is answer the
But it's
question
there.
about trees being planted now, not creating the problem, got controls in place.
Yeah, setback from roads.
Okay, that's good.
I'd like to move the motion to.
Nice and loud.
I would like to.
I'm going to mirror Councillor Walker's concerns here. I love trees. I hate the idea of cutting any trees down. And I'm glad I came round with you to look at this tree because, and looking at the maps, if I hadn't have gone there, I wouldn't have been in a better position to vote how I'm going to vote. But this tree, along with the others along that side, would cause absolute misery that size. Imagine if the other trees that have done damage to the road and have been removed, even with all the leaves off, it's completely black. I climbed up the tree to actually have a look. You know, even with no leaves on it, it's completely black. You can just see. So you've got that issue for one person, one house, and yet all the other houses in the subdivision have all got the benefit of beautiful north-facing views as well as the sun. Forget about views. I know people, I don't like the idea when people come up and says, oh, I want that tree removed, and it's so they can get a view of the mountain or the sea. But this is slightly different. Someone's put the wrong tree there in the beginning, it would seem. It's sad. But my concern is that we do this and then we're going to have every man jacking his dog and tree.
Every man a tree.
Yeah, coming in going, what are you doing here? I want this done. It's just, I'm dreading.
Which is our job to listen to that.
Yeah.
And then do the investigation to see if it's.
Oh, give us something to
asking
do.
for a report.
Through the chair, we do have to look at it case by case. We're not saying, I love trees, it's a beautiful tree, but it's just in the wrong place. And part of our role as the community board is to look after people's well-being. And when we went round to visit the owners of the house, it's absolutely completely in darkness, freezing cold, mouldy, damp, because of the tree. So their well-being is severely affected.
Councillor Walker.
Just through you, Chair, is there any appetite from the C80-year-old and the concerned neighbours to replant a tree somewhere else in a reserve that's an appropriate tree to compensate the loss for our community of the elm?
So you're going to say.
Sorry.
The neighbour across the road? So the 80-year-old neighbour, and well, there's two people that live over there. They have actually planted a kowhai tree, replacing one of the other elms along that fence line, which the neighbour affected was quite happy with. So they've already basically done that, but.
And the house in question, if the tree was removed, is happy for another kowhai to go in its place.
Pardon?
Bring the occasional tui and wood pigeon. Feed.
Tree lives.
That's motion.
One. Not mine.
I would like to move option 1. Removal of the tree in this particular case. Standalone case. So it's
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Board Member Hughes.
sorry.
Be an amendment, would it?
No, nothing's been moved and seconded yet, so this is what is being moved.
So the move is option 1, remove the tree. Yeah, is that right? And that's,
Contrary to the recommendations, what you're saying.
yes, yeah, that's right.
Agrees to remove the tree, as opposed to option 1 on the agenda.
Yeah. Seconded by Board Member Hughes.
It was a tough decision for me to do.
Is shall I go for the against? Is anyone against? Everybody for? Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Lynn, I guess that would be really cool if we can include that in our minutes. So it's got some criteria around the trees. and
Land
stuff.
development. Covered off, you go.
Wow, I might get a screenshot.
Could that be circulated to the board, please?
If you go on,
No, could you circulate what you found to the board? I've got enough to do on stuff, thank you.
I've got enough to.
You've just got it on your screen. How hard is that?
Looking up things left, right and centre in the background here, it's very helpful. Sorry, Lynn, what I was going to say is, so from here, the process is
So we will get the tree removed.
Can I also ask, that we look at local arborists as an option?
Through you.
Yeah.
We can only use approved arborists.
Yeah.
So local arborists are very welcome to go through the approval process. Was predominantly around health and safety.
Yeah.
We want to know that we're ticketed, etc. I do think with this tree to remove it, and I don't know if that would have been in the quote, but there will probably be traffic management required.
It's down a cul-de-sac.
It's on the side of a road, requires traffic management. There's no way around that, unfortunately.
Well, that would be more like another $1,000. So we would say that it's probably going to be $2,500.
They've given a quote.
They've given a $1,400 quote. Councillor Walker?
I feel very uncomfortable that the figures that you've given us and now that we've passed and voted on it, you're now telling us there's another cost of traffic management.
Maybe, we don't know.
Next time when a report comes, can we please have all those could be maybes added to a report? Because that could have swayed our decision on my vote, to be fair.
Yeah, totally. So I'm just gonna go back to how can we get clarification about this road?
Well, if we've said with estimate to remove the trees $1,400, we'll be doing it for $1,400. If it's any more than that, we won't be doing it.
You won't be
Coming back
removing
to-
it.
We'll be finding a way to do it. That's what we've quoted.
Okay. Right, so how about I connect with you offline regarding the process for our local businesses, not just our arborists, because this is something that has come up a number of times about getting council approved, and because I know a lot of them have done quotes for council in the past, and that's why they're like, oh, we never get it, so what's the point? So whether or not they already are approved, I don't know. But how about we have a chat? Is that cool?
Yeah.
Thanks, Lynn. And I think that was all from that. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to 8.2, discretionary funding. And we have 2 applications, one from Brooklyn School. Do we have anyone from Brooklyn School here represent? Or are they at the door? Oh, no. No, hecklers. They might hold out there. They want to come hang and see what you do. So I'm assuming everybody has read through the application of Brooklyn School. It is. Do we want to look at both of these or move them separately? So we've got also Motueka group writing for disabled. Put an application on. Yes.
How many, I can remember another grant to them. There's
Is
about
it
2
RDA?
Yeah,
So the clarification is, which we raised last month because they put it in June, is it has to be different financial year.
oh, okay, yep, that's,
However, in saying that, it looks like there was a faux pas last year. So there was two in one financial year. I believe.
okay.
Yes.
Was that under the 700, the 2? Was it before we went up to 700 from 500?
So, yeah, so we've got August and the other one's not on here because that was a bit earlier, so I can't say.
Okay.
Also, we have, oh, mind you, it doesn't matter because we're in the new financial year.
Okay.
I'm happy to move.
No discussion.
Approved. No
Yep.
discussion from me.
Okay.
Oh, it's only a year.
Oh, you are here, yeah. Sorry, Mr. Hughes was right in the way.
Oh.
No, it's really fine.
I'm never in the way.
You're right in my line of sight.
Yeah, so instead of trying to say in advance of this,
So this application is for our coach and 2 relief coaches to do a refresher first aid course. It's part of the national body's rules that everybody within the RDA group has to have a current first aid certificate level 2. They completed that 2 years ago, and now they need to just do a refresher course so that they're current. Yeah, we do from time to time have accidents, not many at all. We do have some vulnerable riders with medical conditions. So everybody needs to be skilled and trained and prepared for something that might happen.
I'd say it's a requirement now anyway, isn't it?
Oh, it's compulsory
Yeah.
that we have this certificate for the coaches. Yeah, yeah.
Deputy Chair's got a, oh, sorry, Councillor Murray's got a question.
Thanks, Steve. So in terms of the first aid course, it's the 6400, 6401, 6402.
That's right.
So is there a reason you use Red Cross? Because there is another local provider that's about another $50 cheaper.
Oh, Medcare, you're referring to Medcare?
Yes.
We have used Medcare in the past. I think the reason why we're using Red Cross is we did that first comprehensive course with them, and so we're doing the refresher with them, but we have used Medcare in the past too. Yeah.
That's just my question.
Yeah,
If-
yeah.
In a thing where obviously getting funding to do that, and there's a provider that offers it for about $95, I think, if not cheaper than that. Because it's the same unit standards. Doesn't matter if it's state Red Cross, 111 care or
Yeah.
It's the same first aid.
Maybe, I think maybe it could be a decision and the timing as well, is when it needs to be done, but we certainly.
You one in a week and a half, so I've just put staff on.
What's that?
There is one in with a week or in a week and a half time, so I've just registered staff on.
Oh,
That's how I know, because I went and recosted first aid courses.
Oh, nice.
So if you do that in a sense where you're paying for it, but also when it's community's money, then value for money back into the local community.
Yeah.
It's just a
Yeah.
question.
Thank you. I appreciate you having looked into that for another purpose that is supporting us.
I'll certainly take that back to the committee, because I know they have used Medcare in the past. Maybe that is something that they should use every time going forward.
Yeah, that would be great. So keep it local. Sorry, Councillor Dowling.
Like Councillor Murray asked the same question I was going to ask, and also I was going to ask the fact that do they carpool when they have to drive all the way to Nelson to do the course?
It's happening here.
I see.
The Red Cross is happening here.
I just see it just says the training rooms in Parkers Road and Nelson on the form. That was. So I was just going to clarify that. So
It's happening here. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that you wanting to move?
I'll move, we support that,
So moving that we support both?
both,
or-
yeah.
Both, yep.
Both.
Okay, so
I mean, you can't turn down health and safety for a start off, and I love your organisation. It really does, makes a difference to people in the community, especially the vulnerable ones. And the much the same, this is a community event, Brooklyn School. It's going to have a huge effect on the whole population of Motueka if everyone goes out there. So we've got to support that too.
thank you. So both applications have been moved by Board Member Hughes, seconded by Deputy Chair Hart. Everyone in favour say aye.
Aye.
Anyone again? Carried. Thank you, Sarah, and we will arrange to get out there. Yes, might only be one or two of us, but thank you.
Being naughty, Madam Chair, but I just want to remind Councillor Hughes about his health and safety.
He literally just left with a statement about health and safety is a must.
Traffic management. There's an orange cone there somewhere, I'm sure.
I would think his car.
Well, I can do it. I'd chop my own tree if I don't.
No, don't go there. Moving on.
Don't want to know, trust me.
Let's not have it on. Okay, we're moving on to 8.3, which is the board report. Just before we get into that, just to note, Mary had come around and given everybody an invitation for Monday, 2nd of September for their welcome party. Does anyone just want to elaborate on what the welcome party is? And because I have no idea what it is,
I'm
who
meant
it's
to
for.
know. I'm meant to know, and I didn't go to the last meeting, so it's horribly embarrassing for me.
Councillor Walker.
Thank you through you, Chair. So the Kia Sato have 21, 22 guests coming. Kia Sato is obviously the garden that we have here with our sister city relationship.
Yeah.
So every year, post, obviously COVID stopped that, but we have a group of students, a couple of educators, through the Kia Sato school. So we currently have a Motueka high school student that does an exchange. So we have one of our students in Kia Sato and they have one of their students here, and every year we have a contingent of them come over and we get to showcase our beautiful Tasman area whilst they're here for 4 days. They arrive on the Saturday night. We actually do the welcoming on the Monday night. We have 4 full days of activities with them.
Okay, so the exchange is just for 4 days.
So the guests coming over for this
Yeah.
year is for 4 days.
But the exchange students.
So
is
the
a year?
exchange student does well, not quite a year, but ours actually stay longer in Kia Sato than the Kia Sato student that comes here, just got the way the dynamics work.
Okay, so the guests are coming from Kia Sato.
They are.
Right, and I think we actually talked about this once before. Does anyone from here go over there?
No.
No.
Well,
So
not
we
the
just
5
done
years
the
that I've
host.
been a councillor, and it's been part of my portfolio for the
Right.
5 years, but no, we host.
Okay, okay.
Through the chair, is that Bonnie? Yeah.
Councillor Murray.
Through the chair, the other thing that Councillor Walker was about to say, and she just stopped, was it's really important to recognise that the sister cities between Motueka,
Friendly towns.
Pretty towns is through is with Motueka, and so Mary will be very strong on encouraging the community board members to attend that function, and it is very nice. It's catered. There's nice speeches. There's an exchange of gifts, but it is very much a Motueka thing. Because
So,
Councillor Ellis looks after the other one in Richmond, even though it's in Motueka as well.
okay, that's cool.
Okay, sorry.
To know. I unfortunately will be coaching down south from the 1st to the 5th of September, so I will not be able to go, and I hear Councillor Maru's flying across the ditch. Is there anyone here?
I think I'll be able to go.
I'll make up for you guys.
Thank you.
So
I'll
it's the 2nd of
fly
September.
the flag.
I'll attend.
You're overseas about, oh, let's go.
Thanks.
I'm
I'm just going to Christchurch. That's where some,
I'm engaged for the 4 days.
so you'll be there.
I'll go as well.
Okay, so hopefully we'll have 3 representatives. 2nd of September, 6 p.m. Anyway. We've got some board member faces there.
Please RSVP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Individually, not by,
And to the email.
because your invites were individual.
So on that same note, board member Hughes, are you happy to go to the 29th July meeting?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, looking at the report. On point 3.1, I have a meeting tomorrow with Councillor Walker, Principal John Prestige and Sean Delaney around this initiative that's coming up next month. So I will send you guys an email with an update on that. I'm really, really happy that we have Gavin on board. We managed to catch up on Friday, several of us, which was great. And to just have a dedicated person to the board, which we haven't had, is hopefully going to solve a lot of the problems. We had a meeting with police that went well. We just still can't get with Fins and.
Haven't asked them to be fair.
Oh, okay.
I think I might have mentioned one of the councillors is I'm just still confused what we're going to meet with about.
Yeah.
And so what's the?
So initially it came up because of Cycleways, the consultation.
Because I know one of the things potentially they want to raise, and that's access to the fire station. So I'm just unclear in terms of what's the
Yeah, sort of
purpose
have a
and what's
purpose.
our impact, you know, what's the.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
maybe flick,
Yeah.
flick some bits and then when we've got something, like.
Thank you. Okay, so you'll see the big old section 5 there around the State Highway 60 road barriers. This is just the comments coming in that I'm hearing around community and also experiencing myself. I know this is a state highway, which is a central government, but it doesn't mean that we still can't advocate in some way if you feel there is any impact on in the community. So I just wanted to get a sense of what everyone else is hearing or experiencing in relation to the so-called improvements. Feel free. It's not going to bite anyone back. This is what your experience and the experience of our community.
It does worry me if there's a major accident, access points for the emergency services. That's my biggest issue. I guess the annoyance of there being a barrier, you just have to get used to it, but that's my biggest thing is the access. If there's a vehicle accident, is for the emergency services and other vehicles to avoid the, so that's where I'm coming from.
So we'll just hear from Mr. Kirby.
In situations like that, they just close the road and then we'll have to go around through Marput.
I guess if it's in the middle of an accident and everybody's driving, like we have incidences.
The police will arrive there and people work around it, how they get out. But the road will be generally be closed if there's a serious accident, like in other parts of the state highway that don't even have those barriers. The roads are closed now more frequently and people use diversion routes. Can I just, I mean, you can put the feeling and sentiments back, but this work is a result of a lot of study and research on safety by NZTA. I would say I'm not even a safety engineer myself, but I understand the background to it all. By all means, you can give your feedback, but I don't think it's going to have them removed or anything.
I wouldn't expect it to
No,
cost.
I know. And I know when it was first raised, we thought, well, you know, at the end of the day, I suppose if it's going to save lives, it's money spent to do that. So
We've had three fatalities since 2015 along that stretch.
Yeah. So that's to answer that question. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to Deputy Chair Hutt, then Board Member Hughes and Councillor.
It was more, my concern was not closing the road off after the accident. It was during the accident and emergency service getting to the accident because they can't get round the other way because of the barrier. If the whole road is covered in cars and injuries, they can't get round the other side. That was my concern, not closing the road after the fact. Just to clarify.
There's plenty of width to the road. Thank you.
Some sections are very narrow. Board Member Hughes.
Oh, I was just going to say, but Mr. Kirby already has. I agree with Mr. Kirby. This is there's nothing we can do regardless. I know people have come to us with concerns and we see it on Facebook, but these people are the experts and I think we're just going to have to.
Do you feel the experts have always been right, Mr. Hughes?
No, definitely not.
Yes, that's where I'm coming.
Yeah, I know. I completely agree with you, but I think we're up against it. You know, these are big
100%.
people, and
But if
let's
we
pick our
continue
battles.
to just sit and allow things to happen, then things will just keep happening.
Yeah.
But if you voice concern, and like Mr. Kirby said, the NZTA have apparently looked into this. They need stay present because I hear where you're coming from, but it doesn't mean that little old community board voice can't be heard. But if our voice does get back, then that's another thing for them to look at potentially, or go in the rubbish, but it's another thing that they've heard from the people which they represent when they're making decisions in other small towns or other state highways.
Quite right. I completely disagree with Mr. Kirby.
No, because his point is right, this is the system that we're operating within. So it's just, we have to have, I feel we should have the discussion because it is impacting our community.
So-
Councillor Della.
You're right, your letter of concern, I've had a discussion with one of the NZTA people and regarding the emergency vehicle access. And you'll see when you drive through there, there's some yellow cones in the middle of the road that says don't turn and
Yeah.
private access. They can be whipped out
Yes.
by the emergency services and to get the emergency service to the crash site. And then if the police do their job properly, they can then divert the traffic around down that lane as well until the other lane gets cleared. So it's a damn sight better than Annisbrook Drive. When people miss aeroplanes to Australia and everything like that, sitting there for 4 hours, they can't get out. At least this highway here has been designed so that you can U-turn, go back, get out somehow.
Just,
So
as you say, the time
take my hat off, they've given it a shot and they've made some options available. My biggest concern was, I think it was a $3.9 million project and it came in at 5.5.
Oh, that's not surprising.
Haven't had that official yet, but
Thank you for raising that because I did wonder the cost and I couldn't find that.
don't take that as gospel yet. I'm waiting to get the official. Got a bit of a.
Yes, board member Armstrong.
You asked about what we heard from other people. I looked quite a lot of the posts that were about it on Facebook and the community things. I saw quite a few that were very happy with it and thought it was good. I've asked a couple of people since I saw it come up the agenda and they both said, well, they don't particularly keen on it, but they feel safer. So there's some opinion different to what was mentioned here.
Yes. That's good. It's good to make sure that there are people that are finding some to major changes like that. I guess the overwhelming stuff that's coming my way has been, in my personal experience as well. Sorry. Yep.
On what you mentioned there, of course, with Facebook, especially with the complainants, always they want to have a complaint. People who are happy with it, rather than respond to those and shout out, I just let it be because it's done.
So I guess I want to engage where the board's feeling is around it and whether or not a letter is drafted to NZTA, feeding back some of the community comments, which can be some of the positive things and then some of the impactful things.
Time to let them know our community's voice. That's what our role is.
Anyone very against? Councillor Murray?
No, I'm not against, because I get it, but I think next week I'm probably going to be a minority at the Joint Transport Committee. Is that, this board has been through a workshop to drop speed limits around this district. And I just can't, for the feather of me, know why we're doing that. So, we throw stones at NZTA, but we've also made decisions as a board workshop and as councillors about to reduce a whole lot of speed limits.
Board haven't.
Board workshop, there was a workshop.
The board workshop, but the board was split.
But what we went through was the majority of the board's view.
That's interesting. I haven't been sent anything about what's gone through.
So that was the comment that came through a workshop, or through one of the meetings.
Board member.
So what did the board formally select in?
We didn't. Because we haven't had anything sent back to us from that workshop formalising the views, because nothing's come back.
Okay, so that's my question then. So we're gonna criticise NZTA's decision, but this board can't make a decision.
Yes, but I'm just going back to the speed management. From after that workshop, the board never received anything back from the workshop stating, is this what the board, what basically came back was, well, out of that, was that we were to do our own submissions.
So because you were meeting together informally, couldn't make a decision, you're just getting informal feedback.
That's all.
But what I'm concerned about is if it's been presented as the board had made a decision, so that's what I'm a bit worried about, because we haven't,
Final ones that we're taking.
we haven't for or against anything around that particular matter.
Has the board submitted?
No.
That's my challenge back to the board is it's easy to challenge other people's decisions.
Yeah.
But if the board doesn't submit, doesn't make a decision.
Yeah.
Where they have influence, then it's a little bit of a double standard.
Absolutely. And I don't even know when the submission timeframe is, to be honest, for this speed one. If anyone knows, let me know so we can make notes so we can get that done.
Joint council meeting next Tuesday. That's when the decision gets made.
So
Take it up
submission.
on the-
We look on the late agenda items for the RTC on the 9th of July, 2024. It has a list of the roads that have gone through the process that are going for recommendation to.
Yeah.
So I'll have a good list of them.
I'm more concerned, what's the cutoff date or has it gone for the so the submission date's gone? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. So again.
So the point of the workshop was,
Nothing.
right,
Just
In
information.
fairness of information, but opportunity for the board to submit. So that was the flag for submissions. The fact the board didn't submit isn't necessarily anybody else's fault, but the board's.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, totally, 100%. I guess I'm always waiting for the indicator. But that's good to know. So we've missed that opportunity there. And then back in relation to your point was, if we're not submitting on that, but we want to say something on this.
I guess it's just my push is there are some bits that the board has some influence in.
Yes.
Bigger influence in, and there's some bits that represent and advocate rightly because that's the role in terms of the other things. But I guess don't lose track of the ones that you can have more influence in. Over chasing things you have little influence over.
Oh, yeah. And to be fair, it'd be the same as doing a submission. It's a letter and then it's gone. There's nothing much more we do past that. Yeah, councillor.
Yeah, through you, Chair. So point of clarification, so 3 Mott Ward councillors had a workshop-y, Zoom-y, online-y thing about those speed limit changes. And my understanding is the goalposts got moved from central government so that when you had your dialogue, that was quite different to what we were originally shared with. So I think you have every right to push back and ask for some clarification at what point should you put your submission in, just so that there's some learnings from this. Because to me, that process was flawed. Because what I was shared, what you were shared, and then what's come around to council, quite different pieces of information. So as a way of moving forward to keep the community board in the link and in the loop, maybe our staff could be doing a prompt to say, hey, this is what you can consult and put a submission in on, so that you're not left in the kind of weeds per se, because that process changed considerably from when we first got our conversation to your conversation to council.
Thank you, councillor Della.
Just make everybody aware that the minister did change the rules. And if we didn't have the council proposal into them by a certain date, which was last Wednesday, I think, we would just automatically fall under the new rules that he's putting into place. So to get the speed limits that we wanted changed in certain places, we had to fast track the situation a lot faster than we ever anticipated. Like took about 2 months off it. And bang, and it was done at the special meeting of the RLTC. Then it went to the joint council the day after or something. And then it was off to Wellington the day after that. If we'd waited to do the process as it was, we couldn't do anything.
But where was our including the community board in that discussion?
I understand that, I don't, yeah, I know what you're saying. And yes, I do agree that you put your concerns through. It was fast tracked that much. I just don't think the staff had time to consider anything like that. But yeah.
Board member Armstrong.
My recollection of the workshop was that the 2 council staff presented sitting down there made that clear to us. Well, it's clear to me anyhow that this process had to be done that quickly, or what was decided would be ineffectual.
Yeah, they definitely said the goalposts had changed and things had to be expedited. But what I'm saying is the from my understanding and memory, that loop wasn't closed off. So there was an expectation that we'd get okay, this is what we've collected from that workshop. Is this the board's stance, given some diverse views on it?
In theory, what needed to happen after that workshop, you needed to have your own workshop making decisions on whatever roads that the proposal put out, which you never got because it never had time to do that scenario.
So not only did the loop not close, there was no time for.
And I don't think that we can blame the council because of the short time frame up like that, because it was under the pump.
Mm.
And I had to run with it because we're on the RLTC. But certainly put your concerns forward to the fact that, why be involved if you can't be involved? If that's what you want to say.
Yes.
I just want to re-emphasize the point again. That workshops and decisions are mutually exclusive. You can't make a decision at a workshop.
No,
So I just want to, for the sake of those in the public forum, if you ever discuss things, that's background information. If you want to put a submission, and that's fine, but you can't make decisions at a workshop.
No.
Yeah.
I guess we can pick that bit up when we move down to 7.1. Okay, well, how about just going back to this point here? If you don't mind, Board Member Armstrong, sending me some of those comments on the other side of the concerns that you've found on Facebook. And I literally am happy just to collate what's already here and that be sent off. Okay, well, what I can say is there are some people that are finding benefit with it, just to show. So is everyone okay with that? This is just coming back to the point of the NZTA draft. On the second point, I don't know how board members, we're going back to council. There's nothing really much we can do. I mean, Councillor Walker, are you indicating that there is potentially option for the board to put something through within that time frame that Councillor Maru said when you're meeting? Like, about speed of management. What's in my diary?
It's not on.
Joint committee.
Joint committee, and that's where the decision's being made on.
Recommendation from the Joint Regional Transport Committee.
Yes.
Goes to each council. Oh, no, instead of each council, it goes to the joint.
Yes. So Tuesday's when the decision's made.
Yes.
But it's not an LGW, it's just in a place on
No,
a
we
calendar.
don't. Yeah, that's right. We don't go to that, eh? No. So that is Tuesday, the 23rd.
You can attend.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking if there's a way to get the voice of the community board through. For them. Okay, how about we do that?
More councillors.
Thank you. That's a great next option. We'll both sit at the meeting.
Because I'm open. It's the only thing I agree with.
So I guess given the time frame, I'll email other 3 board members for input. Yep. Response. What was it called? Speed management. Starting to be- Speed management.
Thanks, Councillor Greening.
Right. Okay.
Right, what the speeds to be reduced.
Yeah. Okay, so we don't actually need to discuss much on section 6 because we will be doing a workshop.
Well, if I could, there is an interesting thing here. The 8-week rule is in regards to the Resource Management Act, and in the paperwork here, they're acknowledging that there are issues with the Resource Management Act because some areas allow for granny fats under the Resource Management Act. But the issue here is tiny homes and granny flats. It's slightly different according to law. I'm struggling to
So the
understand that.
legislation determines the two is different.
We're talking that they're talking about the Building Act more than the Resource Management Act, I understand. So once again, we had a workshop and nothing has happened. We were meant to have another workshop in regards to the 8-week rule. Not, oh, well, I understand from the public and from councillors that the mayor has advised to have a breather. I find this concerning because whilst we are sitting here waiting for another workshop, people are being taken to court over minor issues under the Resource Management Act. We need to address this 8-week rule. I have concerns with there is an issue with certain acts trying to override the Parent Act. There are many issues here which no one is wanting to address. The TDC have been absolutely silent on this. The only thing they have been very firm about is that this whole thing comes down to, under the Resource Management Act, to become a dwelling, building, whatever, it has to be fixed to land. Now the Tasman District Council are officially saying, if the documentation of it, is that vehicles can become buildings because they're attached to land by gravity. And I'm sorry, this is just the most, I just don't understand the mentality behind that statement. I've seen the court cases that they're mentioning. It's flawed. I won't go into the details, but we need to have a specific workshop on the 8-week rule. Sticking it in with the granny flat rule, I feel is just not right. We should have it beforehand. All the councillors. This is the most important thing affecting the region at the moment, because if these 2 court cases go through and the Tasman District Council are successful, this will cause mayhem throughout the region on both sides. You'll have certain landowners that'll be feeling empowered to go, oh, I don't like what he's doing. And the next thing, the Tasman District Council will be caught up in neighbourly wars we never thought would be possible. Somebody's got to do something. I don't see any kickback from any councillors. It's not like, Nick, you're completely wrong. Everything's rosy here. It isn't rosy. And we need a specific workshop for this. I appreciate we're chucking it in with the granny flats, but this is about the Resource Management Act and it's about gravity.
So this is a 3-hour workshop. So my assumption, which we shouldn't, but my assumption is it should be covering both the 8-week rule plus this new rule that's coming in and doing a comparison.
Well,
yeah.
Okay, so sorry through the chair. So we need to ensure that the community board, I want it officially noted that we need to put our case forward and have, what's the word that we use?
Discretionary.
No, full and frank discussions, because at the last, I'm not allowed to say, am I?
No, but I can actually say, because I did meet with a chief operating officer, and he has said that it will be run quite different. So my expectation is, yes, you will.
Yeah, I've had that assurance myself.
Councillor Walker.
Yeah, just to endorse that conversation that you've just had, because I too have been asking questions. I do want to endorse what board member Hughes is saying, because the implications of this are far reaching. You know, it won't just be the 2 that are going to court currently. And the other note that I have is, you know, I've been pushing for this since 2019 when I came around this table and the chambers. And I grapple with how long it has taken to get it to be aired, and the flaws from the first workshop, and how the board was not acknowledged for the mahi that you've put in and to even push to get this. So I'd like to hope that, you know, when the workshop is planned, that there will be quality time where this can be aired, and that the granny flats don't take over that entire workshop. I don't disregard the impact and the opportunities the granny flats may raise. However, that is a new piece of work that has to be done. And I'd hate to see that the 8-week rule gets squished into a tiny little corner whilst the airtime's taken up with our granny flats, because we have been pushing this since 2019. Thank you.
How about we put an action just to get clarification from, I can't even remember who's running. Drummond. That will take place, that there will be maybe even a bit of an agenda around how much time we spend on each subject or some sort of indication, so we.
There's definitely, conversation with that is definitely two parts.
Yes.
One is the law that you've requested and talking to that.
So,
Followed by the.
Sorry, can you use a bigger voice?
Board Member
I'm
Hughes.
struggling to hear above
Member
this.
Hughes. Councillor Manu, Board Member Hughes.
Sorry.
So the workshop has been allocated to 2 bits. The first bit is for you to present the 8-week rule, and the second one's about the granny flats. That's why it's 3 years long.
Excellent. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Just got to make sure you can make it because it's
I'm there.
1 till 4 on a Thursday. And
I'm there.
some of us are meant to be in 2 places. Okay, so we can revisit that
Yep.
Next month after the workshop. So 7.1. And I guess it's just to note because as some of us are new, or several of us are new, that we have had and given council have done an induction for the first time for all incoming elected members, which was fantastic. And our new Chief Operating Officer has been very good at reaching out and trying to work through some of the gaps that we've definitely faced as a board this year. That's why I'm really, really happy that we've got Gavin now dedicated to supporting the board. But I guess I just wanted to note a couple of things, and it's just to be noted, and this will be discussed outside of here. Just the board not being included, invited, or updated on certain things that actually impact our community or us as a board. And I am hopeful that will improve for the remainder of our term. 7.3. Now, did you?
What's 7.3, sorry?
Did you want to talk to that?
Oh, 7.2, you mean?
Oh, sorry, 7.2. Oh, I need something to eat.
Okay.
Waiting.
Yeah, it had also been brought up in the public forum, the article in The Guardian, once again raises serious concerns for me, being an advocate for a number of people that have faced action, swift action, when and over minor things, like we're talking about sink basins, composting toilets, just parking a caravan. The action has been absolutely swift and is enforcement action that is taken, as I said, 2 minor cases in court. Yet here we have a complete opposite approach with other business. I won't get into the details here. I'd love to, but I don't think it's appropriate. There is, once again, clear double standards from this letter that was sent to us at the community board by the CEO. It goes completely against the enforcement actions I've been seeing. The issue of abatement notices, the surveillance placed on people. The council seemed to put a lot of effort into enforcement and the ongoing actions here. I'm trying to be careful with my words. But here we have a very softly approach, and including the non-answering of questions in relation to this. I mean, I've had questions put in months ago, and after clarification and clarification, it suddenly gets twisted that much that they go, this is a new request. And I'm waiting months for what I consider straightforward requests for information. It's I'm going to say it. I believe we're being stonewalled. The people that are trying to get to the truth of the matter are being stonewalled. And my hope is in the close future, all the truth will be out there. And well, it's already getting there. But yes, double standards here that I can see, and I suppose I'll be quiet at that.
I know, Councillor Maru's also had issues in the past getting some information, so it's not a direct just because of you. It's like some things can be given and some short.
Anyway, so we'll move on from there. That's...
Okay. What have I got here? Oh. Can we just also note, and this will be 7.3. That the board has had numerous attempts to engage with mana whenua through the manager of Te Awhina Marae. Board member Armstrong you did manage to go and meet, did you, or was just, yes? Yeah. No, so we haven't had any reciprocation. So just want it to be noted that the board have attempted many times. I have personally invited a member to come and talk about the new papakainga, or just to have a representative voice. And we've had no reciprocation there to date. Now, items from the public forum. So, Mr. Williamson, now, Claire's taken notes for this. So, Mr. Williamson's, now, did you want to speak about this? Can you elaborate on the underpass?
Yes, it's being used as an underpass, but its primary purpose is a culvert in the road for water. Students are using it as an underpass, so you have to think aware of that. The primary purpose is not as an underpass. So there are going to be times when it's going to be full of water. Yeah, we've had this discussion at council several times.
Okay, will be times. Oh. Sure. Yes, sorry.
So how's that message put out to community? Because as Mr. Kirby's just said, this isn't the first time this has been raised, and no doubt it won't be the last, because every time there's any significant or slightly less weather event, the said culvert does its job, and water, as water does, flows through. We have some members of our community who understand that that culvert is there as a safe route for their students to come backwards and forwards. So at what point do we send some messaging out, and where does the health and safety lie if something happens to said student whilst there is water in the culvert?
Two simple answers. Number one, there was publicity about that when the discussion came before council it's about 2 years ago now. And number two, it's like any kid that wants to climb up a stormwater hole, it's their own risk.
So now that it's just been retabled at that community board, will there be some comms go out to remind our community that it's a culvert, water carrying vessel thing, not a thoroughfare for students?
It could do. The only problem I'm then going to be we're going to be commenting on something that belongs to NZTA, and I'm not so comfortable about representing them in the conversation, so it'll be something that has to be raised with them.
So will we raise that with them, being that it's been raised here as an advocate for our community?
So they're getting clarity.
I see the look.
Yeah.
Like on a private train all over,
Mr. Williams has obviously been asked to bring it to community board, so where does it go? If you don't feel comfortable doing it because it's NZTAs, do we get Mr. Williams to approach NZTA?
He could do.
That's loosening our advocacy role with him. I could what? What are you asking me to do?
Contact the NZTA.
I shall take it up with NZTA on behalf of Mr. Williams. So are we putting that as an action on councillor Walker? Sure. Oh, I have now better to do with my life. All good.
That's why I gave you the look.
No question that it's Mapua. It's Mapua. Doesn't have anything to do with this.
I would have moved that Mr. Gibby's asked on behalf of the board to follow up.
I would very much appreciate you providing me with the information whereby I could advocate on behalf of Mr. Williams. Oh, and Mapua District Association.
Perhaps that is something that could go back to the Mapua councillors.
I shall work on it.
Maybe that should be the
Councillor
action.
Dowler will provide me info.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Kirby. Moving on.
Yeah.
Because there's only one. Oh, look, no more chocolate left in my plate.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry,
leave
one.
this one here.
Sorry, one.
I forgot to check whether
Another freeze.
everyone's a little bit heightened.
Yeah.
Okay, and I will contact Mr. Williamson and he has the other one.
Yeah.
Okay, now I will need help with Mr. Hallier's, because there were a few points raised there. But one clarification is in relation to what was brought up last month in regards to derogatory comments against one of our board members. That has been dealt with internally. We haven't had any information about what has, but it has been confirmed that was dealt with internally. Yes, did you want to say something?
I wish to acknowledge Mr. Hellier's concerns, and once again, the double standards that appear to have been raised, which he did mention again. And it involved my case, which means it's difficult for me to discuss it, but I will say there is an issue that he raised, which I'm aware of, in which case a member of the public was deemed a dangerous person after an interaction with, a person he would know of as a staff member. And so I'm sure Mr. Hellier is drawing parallels between how the case that I was involved in has apparently been dealt with completely different to this. And actually I have been deemed a member of the public, by the way, over the investigation, not as a community board member. And I am most unhappy with how the whole thing has gone. And there hasn't been any communication between myself and the mayor or the CEO. And there also has been no apology.
So
All
can I
I-
just clarify,
but-
have you had any
Yes,
staff
there has been,
member?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, there's been many responses, but not from the CEO and the mayor, whom I directed my concerns to. And once again, it just keeps coming back to my concerns with double standards, which myself and many others in the community are bringing up. I mean, I see individually they're being shut down, being deemed vexatious and that sort of thing, but these people won't be going away anytime soon. And as I said, the truth will get out there in time. That's all I can say. It's just
Yeah.
enough.
But just on that, and I know I said it last month, and I know it's going to be, it'll happen this year, but it is probably another month or two away because we need to focus on the national solutions first. That there is an intention for the board to sit down with senior management, hopefully the mayor and CE, to work through some of those concerns. Now, so that would potentially, so one of the points was ensuring the safety of Motueka residents and ratepayers when dealing with a compliance officer. And the point was raised of advising the affected person that they may have a support person present when the enforcement officer or compliance officer.
There, see, once again, I know the background on this. Unfortunately, so no names mentioned. A number of years ago, a staff member was issued with a trespass notice. And there was some issues around that. And the end result was that the person laying the complaint said, I know I have to, you can't stop a Tasman District Council enforcement officer visiting your property. He just said, I don't want this officer going, and there was good reasons for it. Concerns with the safety of the people concerned. And it's unfortunate that this enforcement officer's name is mentioned again and again and again over the last few years. And recently it has come up in a most concerning way under the issue of surveillance. And I attended the court case, and I actually, as a public member of the public, so if I'm a member of the public in the court, what I'm hearing I should be able to relay, but I won't because I'm a community board member and I don't want to get into trouble. But it was clearly acknowledged that there was surveillance by this same staff member that has previously been issued with a trespass notice over this sort of business before, as I understand it. It's a number of years ago now. So that, I believe, is what Mr. Hellier is referring to, and that and some other matters as well. But I'm just focusing on that one issue. There is others, and but once again, it's.
So you're aware of those things, or members of the
The
public?
Tasman District Council are well aware of all of this.
Yeah, so that was going to be my point, is feedback to whoever, not sure that specific role, but the department around those concerns, so that at least it's recorded and then should be.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
No, I'm just saying that if we get into that process, a record has to be kept. So it's like, employee management. Were you going to say something, Councillor?
I've just got a question. Mr. Kiwi might be able to answer, but Mr. Kiwi might be able to find out. So when somebody is involved within our regulatory team and enforcement is started, abatement notice or whatever, have the form letters been updated? So there was a process about a year and a half, 2 years ago, where the form letter was changing. So was there specifically a statement in the letter that comes out from regulatory department when they're engaged with enforcement that says you are welcome to get a support person to accompany?
Oh.
Just on one, because I think that's the statement that Mr. Hellier asked for. So in terms of the form letters that come out, do they have a statement about we advise you to seek external advice and support if you require that? Can we find out, please?
Mr. Manners might be able to help with that one.
Because it's just the form letter.
They are actually doing a thorough review around what communication is appropriate. So it's a form that gets sent out.
It's a standard letter that obviously populates different bits, but does it include?
Good point.
We recommend that you seek external advice and support.
Yeah.
That's a very good point, because I was advised a number of years ago in my dealings that the warranted officer has a card which states his powers, okay, and that they are empowered to visit and do this, that, and the other. But what's also in the area which has been forgotten about, there has to be a letter of authority. In other words, Tasman District Council can't just pop round into somebody's property and go, well, I've just come to have a look. They have to have a reason for visiting. Okay, so they have to have, we are here today to look at X, Y, and Z. And I think there's been a lot of arguments back and forward over the use of this document. So there's two things that
power.
Well, this is what I mean.
You're saying that there has to be a reason.
There wasn't in my case either one. They just came round and had a look. They need to have a reason. You can't, unless I was advised, if there's a health risk or something like that, if there's raw sewage pouring out, and in other words, immediate action is needed, yes, the council have a right to. But as I understand it, that there has to be a reason to visit, and that has to be documented by senior management, I suppose, it'd be the CEO or the head of the department. They can't just pop round to have a look.
Okay, that's,
But that's my understanding of it. But as I said, it was a number of years ago now. So, and I think
so
it might be
that,
something to do with this, where they're revisiting the
what,
documents.
you know, off the top of your head, what document that would be in?
I think it's just
Policy.
called a letter of authority, I think.
No, I don't.
It's,
Authority at the moment.
yeah,
Yeah, is it legislative? Or
yeah,
is it?
as I said,
Right.
you have a right, Tasman District Council have a right to come around and inspect things. But they have to have the reason to go there. You can't just pop round on your own.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's what I was advised. And I think there's a lot of discrepancy over that issue at the moment.
A lot of eggs.
A lot of X, yeah, there are a lot of X.
Right, isn't it?
Okay, I think that's really good to get the clarity around that board member issues, so thanks for raising that. Okay. The next member from Public Forum was Matthias Shaver. So, let's you got for this. Oh, I missed Linda. We'll go back to Linda. Yeah, so sorry. So there were 3 points.
Yeah.
And I said that.
Transparency, accountability, advocating.
So advocating for community around number 1, transparency, and number 2, accountability. And what have I written? God, I can't even read my own writing.
That's what I got with this. Highlighting transparency. A bit like what you saying.
Yeah.
Come under the same umbrella.
Would like to see the community board advocates the interests of the community, and these can be described with 2 simple words: transparency and accountability. 100%. I mean, that's basically our role. Yeah.
We continue now.
So there were also in here requests for information. Given the aerodrome's been, I think it's been in the board report like forever. Indicates there is a public interest. So requesting of documents around that would insinuate to me that there's no reason not to release unless there was something commercial or confidential. Councillor Murray?
So my question is once upon a time, we used to have the board correspondence attached to the agenda. Now we just list it. So my question is that correspondence confidential? If it's not, I don't see why it can't be released. And maybe Elaine can help, but is the board's correspondence confidential? Because I think that was one of the requests. There's been a number of emails.
Yeah.
If it's not confidential.
Not necessarily confidential. I think the reason it was removed from the agenda were for privacy reasons, because actions weren't taking place and it was interactions between staff and the board, and it may have been that staff weren't expecting that their response would be public, that sort of thing. So our recommendation was, we've all been circulated the correspondence and we just list it for transparency in the agenda. That doesn't make it necessarily confidential.
Right.
There would have to be a test of reasons.
That. So if someone was to request or member Hugh's emails to the board that's listed in the correspondence, then it would go back to the team to look at if there's anything in here that cannot be, or we just redact whatever.
That would be the
and
ideal.
release.
Exactly, that would be the ideal situation.
Okay, great. So, and you're saying, Councillor Maru?
Yes, so if, because some of these would be mine way back.
Yeah,
And I was just reading one before about, can you please answer this and reply to such and such over something related to the topic we're talking about? But is the staff response the confidential part? Because I have no issues with I guess I'm on the opinion when I send an email, it's probably going to be publicly discoverable. But is it the response part that, so can I release emails that I've sent, or do they still go through the same process?
Good question.
think that would be a question of the legal and the team and the legal team rather than.
Yeah.
Because in all honesty, one of the other members sitting beside me on the board usually sees about 100 people into the emails. So they're far from confidential.
I got nothing to hide.
So that takes care of that.
Yeah,
I've lowered it.
I just,
Noted.
if they're correspondence, I guess I haven't treated them as confidential in terms of if I read them or talked to somebody about them. If they are confidential, I need to know that so that
They need to be well marked.
But the time in somebody requesting something that's freely available is a waste of both people's time.
Yeah.
So I guess clarity around.
Yeah. So if we could please make an action around that. So clarity, if board are receiving emails or letters, etc., that are not listed as confidential, do they have the right to then share that? Yeah. Because that, I mean, that's a real valid question, because then that's a safeguard for us if
Yes.
we didn't. And then cut through the tape as well. But, yeah.
Just to clarify for myself, anything we send and anybody can look at, that's absolutely right. Yeah. So
Yes. They can request a look
it.
at.
So anything, yeah.
The Chinese Community Board, if you're the CEO, it will get completely redacted. I don't understand the difference, but yeah.
Well, that's the
I
thing.
think it must be just the community board that is all publicly available.
No, I think the
Everyone?
process would be, the Goema would identify what is able to be released and what needs to be redacted.
Excellent. Get ready for another Legema release.
I guess that's the easy part is when we have people email us,
Yeah.
we should recommend they come to public forum. Because then it's a matter of public record.
Yeah, great point. Great point. Yeah. So that's just a note for all members. Councillor Maru's just stated that when people do come to us, that we encourage them to come to public forum, and then it becomes a public record. So that information can be.
Not that it speaks things up.
But, I mean. Yeah. Good. I'm sorry, I did miss, before we go to Duke, I did miss Linda Jenkins. Penguin Trust. So 3 points. Build protective measures around the resource consenting process. So this is in relation to the massive redevelopment around Shelley Bay, Little Kaitiri, which is bringing in more people, more traffic, more dogs, cats, etc. That's a council thing. So is the bylaws and rules, which we know there's some underway at the moment.
The board has had an opportunity to, so yes, the dog and cat bylaw are currently with council, but guys, Golden Bay did, the Motueka community already has had the opportunity to write bylaws.
To write bylaws, yeah.
And we decided not to.
Yeah. They will take,
We've had so much Little Penguin footage and stuff going on, and we're right in the thick of it over there. And I'd like her to come and talk to us, share the same video actually. Be good to come from somebody else rather than us that normally gives it to us, and it might be heard a bit better, but yeah.
So through the chair, on Thursday's regulatory meeting, cat bylaw, dog bylaw, public spaces bylaw, and water bylaw. Yeah, all the drafts are in there to go out to consultation.
I do know that the dog control bylaw is being withdrawn on Thursday because the policy work has to take place at the same place, and it'll be going to the 1 August council meeting. So the dog bylaw won't be considered, but the other 3 are.
This is next Thursday.
It's this Thursday.
That's right.
So that's.
They're just going out for consultation.
Out for consultation.
Yeah. Okay. Right, so let's just put a wee promo.
So say it's, we have to control, but you can't be.
Okay, and Jude, Yeah, I was just, the last point from Linda was around protection and conservation, like awareness and stuff, consistent signage and that. So I guess it's just, if council's doing the signage, it's just a way that within signage that request for it to be consistent. Around the,
Is that an action to forward that to the?
yeah, I don't know who said.
I think there might be some grayness between the dock sign
Yeah, that's
and a
what-
council sign.
Yeah. That's where the inconsistencies are coming. So
Mhm.
maybe a bit of comms between the two departments.
And just another thing through you, Chair, the consistency thing comes also about, so Port Terakoe's got a whole lot of development happening out there. And they actually have in part of the rules of what they're allowed to do, they have somebody monitoring Little Blues. So there's a whole process that's gone through and then that seems to be an isolated thing. And that's what Linda contacted me about and I asked her to come speak here. Along with other things, is that we acknowledge that and we put value to that at Port Terakoe, and yet when we come here and we try and do the sand embankment push up at Maraho, where Little Blues are nesting, and other places, I have to push like heck to try and get TDC to look at how do we acknowledge it over there in the bay, but we don't within Tasman Bay here. So some of the consistency is sometimes you can get a sign, sometimes you can't. Our signage is all quite different. And there's a policy that works for one area, which is the same district council, that doesn't work here. Again, it's double standards, it's mixed messages. And if we ideally could roll out the same rule right across the district, that would eliminate and probably educate along the way.
I totally agree. I think as both boards, we do need to work consistently together on this issue. We've probably are a little bit ahead of you guys because we have had someone really pushing it hard, and we've got a lot of data and it's been a lot of support over there. So we can't see why it shouldn't happen over here. If we can get what's her name, Linda to come. But maybe we need to get together as boards at some point and have a workshop on penguins or on because you're right, there's an inconsistency of dock land and DDC land too, which also makes it a little bit tricky in the mix. So different rules, different things we can all do. So
So just to get clarity around what Councillor Walker was saying. So measures have been put in place. Has that been driven through the Golden Bay Community Board? Like how did that come about?
It comes through us. Yeah, it's been come through us, but it's mostly been a one woman
like a Linda over there.
No, somebody else.
No, I know, but like our equivalent.
Yeah, well.
But maybe someone a bit more.
Next level times two. Yeah. But that person's not doing it anymore, but they got a lot of stuff happening early on. So, yeah. And we listened to them.
The consent from the Terracotta requires us to look after the blue penguins and make sure that whatever work we do, we don't interfere with them.
Right.
And the Massey University professor told from memory, the nesting time is May through June. Something like, anyway, there's a 3 or 4 months and we don't do any activities at that time. Any other time we do activity, they have to inspect to see that there's no blue penguin being affected in the work area that they would.
That's only that area, not for little.
It's for Port Terakoe.
Right.
But the Penguin Trust have actually done an extensive survey in Golden Bay, and I believe they brought the dog over here as well, and they checked out the whole shoreline to get an idea of numbers. So there's quite a lot of scientific evidence behind this, and I don't remember the scientist. You might be able to recall.
Yeah, I can't remember
the dog, and it's been very effective in the bay. We're having a lot less deaths. We've got a lot of penguin signs, big signs, flashing ones with lights on them that say, don't hit the penguins, drive carefully. Seriously.
It's not NCTA approved.
Oh, it's on our road. But yeah,
It's the difference.
Is there any, sorry, I don't know the area, but is there any housing?
yeah, oh, look, there's plenty of people that have penguins living under their houses that are not very happy about it.
They're not happy about the penguins living there.
Well, they're pretty smelly. And
Smell.
pretty-
Oh, smell. Okay.
Yeah. The little house down at Onikaka, right on the corner there, Onikaka Wharf, is been aptly named for the last 40 years as Poo Corner. Yep.
Okay, so I guess let's try and liaise
Yep.
between boards, in the aim of
And I-
promoting some
I can share the
consistency.
people who are leading the trust over in Golden Bay as well. They're actually quite passionate about their penguins and the penguin watchers. They've got a dedicated group that, you know, look after them, and they're starting to get a lot of data now from the breeding.
Cool, thank you. Okay, and so Jude's presentation, well, your discussion around the audit fees. Yep, go to the Auditor General. It's just an annual, isn't it? This is just an annual, yeah, and it's a requirement.
Yep.
Yes.
And it's fair to say that at the Audit and Risk Meeting, which I'm part of that subcommittee last week, there was a very strong voice from the committee about the horrendous amount that the fees are going up. And I know that the Auditor General and the person that we've got, a newly appointed person, is sat there and felt that they could justify the reason that the price has gone up. But for example, for 2024, and this was in the public part of the meeting, so I'm pretty sure, and it's on computer, so even I can find it, as Jude probably has, it's 282,549 this coming year. 282,549, which is an increase from the 237K. But as a committee, we did push back and say our concerns, as Mr. Kirby has already highlighted, but as a member of that committee, I can say we did not feel comfortable. There is no appetite from our committee to continue to pay such exorbitant fees for something that we're forced to have, and we don't get to choose how our auditing company or person is. Part of the system. How many hours are attached to this audit?
Did you say?
Well, that's just for this particular audit. They do more than one audit a
So
year.
how many, so 6 weeks, how many people? How many?
Don't-
When we're talking
Don't
6
start doing
weeks,
some calculations based on what I tell you. All I know is that they have 6 people at the most, and then sometimes they have 4, sometimes they have 3.
yeah.
But the imposition on staff, even the information they want, is probably
So
equal
there's
that
a
cost as well.
cost back
Yes,
off
that's
the
right.
council
Correct.
internally.
Yeah,
Probably
That's
$500,000
just the
price.
cost that
I was gonna say, because, yeah. It's probably, yeah, way more actual cost to council than this report. Yeah, yes. Let's move into that sector after this. No, not auditor.
Just.
Okay, let's move on to the action list.
We've got, Schaffner's, did we deal with that? Oh, okay, yep.
Okay, we're gonna spin through these really quick, so. Number 1, bins.
Our next meeting is the 22nd, where we hope to have the sample for you.
So next week. Yep. Cool. Okay, right, the standing orders 1. Okay, now, I think I had, no, I didn't do it for that. We just basically need a date, guys, and this is for the board to work with standing orders. So let's say, oh, I need a date. It has to be after August the 14th. So I'm asking you to check your calendars so we can just get this in. I don't have my physical diary with me, so I'm going to wing it. It has to be after August the 14th. Maybe September job.
Who's the workshop for?
The board. It's a review of the standing orders. We potentially have, after Golden Bay get back to us, we potentially have either September either, no, hold on, either August the 2nd or August the 23rd for our communication workshop, which not everybody can make, but we're waiting to hear back from Golden Bay, or it moves into September. Yes, yeah, and then I'll let the facilitator know. So it could be August the 30th, could it? Or it has to move into like September the 13th or the 20th. These are the Fridays, because I know it doesn't suit you, but August the 30th?
What time frame are you looking?
What suits? Let's just focus on. I mean, this might be quite early, but let's just book out 2 hours max and smash out what we can. 1 till 3? 1 PM till 3 PM, August 30th for the standing orders review, which tag in some other bits in there too, if we get time. Okay, I'll do that, yeah. So that's my action. Okay, number 3, aerodrome, the plane, apparently, Councillor Dowler still waiting for parts, yeah?
Yeah, that's very important. The airport meeting the other day is they found some additional work needed on the frame.
Oh, additional, yeah.
Yep. And the parts are somewhere.
Not in New Zealand.
They've been paid for, they've left the depot. Goodness knows where.
So in transit.
All they could turn around and say that they've been guaranteed the plane will be back in service before the busy season starts towards the end of the year.
Okay, so hopeful.
I'll keep you updated every time I have a communication with.
Okay, cool. So let's say hopeful November, December. Right, number 4. Now I was going to suggest, because we've done this, I was going to suggest we move that off. I know Councillor Walker still wants it there, but what I'm suggesting is this is the meeting with police and things and that we remove it. So it's just a 1-line meeting with, and we don't need to add to it. We just maybe set some dates, because it's only going to be biannual. Councillor Maru.
Sorry, Madam Chair, you did Mr. Kirby to me.
Yay.
Yeah, that's a great idea, or even 3 times a year, or monthly.
Okay.
And if there's anything that comes up, then it's just a phone call and we can meet. So if there's anything that pops up. That's a great idea, Madam Chair, thank you. I was doing Mr. Kirby, I was doing my emails.
He's working while he's working. Is everyone okay with that? Okay, so we're going to do that. Right, number 5. Maintenance on tables at Motueka Bridge. The last update, maybe. No?
And do you know Tony's was going to talk to
Mr. Kemp.
Mr. Kemp about the Motueka Bridge? There's a table underneath Motueka Bridge.
No. So I think we've got 2 things going on here.
Oh, sorry.
Was Mr. Kemp the
City man.
social? So he was going to liaise with him about the seating out here at Dex Reserve. Yeah, it looks like it's. I think what's happened.
And I can affirm that I had to re-give him the email last Wednesday with Mr. Kemp's details on.
Okay, so let that be the update. So no, we've got the wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so okay, so an action is to update the action.
Yeah, that's the special.
Yeah, it looks like we've got 2 actions in there, or maybe the titles. Okay. Yeah, so the update, sorry, Board Member Armstrong.
That project is part of a special project.
That's what I was
Yes.
saying, yeah.
Not part of the action.
No.
This is part of the special project.
So let's remove that action.
It's out.
Do that
At Motueka Bridge.
because the Motueka Bridge one, I'm assuming, is the concrete pads.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, they ended up on me. Okay.
So, through the chair, the social seating is part of the library upgrades here that Steve Richards is project manager.
Yeah.
So those seats are proposed to go out front here.
Yeah, and Mr. Strange was going to liaise with Mr. Kemp around how
So
it's
that's for that end.
playground end.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
playground end, which is a separate
And so,
concept from what.
one piece of land, two different projects, two different heads. Got you.
Yeah.
Was it board member Armstrong, Councillor Della? Yeah.
I'm just gonna ask, the seat needs to be maintained in the river, is that the one inside the stop banks or the one outside the stop banks? This is confusing me.
Oh, so you know the two concrete tables that were put from a previous board through a special project, is under the Mott Bridge,
Concrete picnic table.
the opposite side.
Yeah.
This,
Inside the stop bank, yeah.
yeah, they're on the Rewaka side.
That's one, I'm sure I noticed one inside the stop bank.
No?
I could be wrong. If it's
Why the bridge?
be removed when the shingle gets
On
removed.
each side.
They're inside the stop bank.
On the Rewaka side.
I can't have another look.
Yeah. Okay. All right, 6. Yeah, okay, so number 6. This is Twin Oaks. It's it. Oh, well, I just wrote my own numbers. So that I can keep track. Yeah, so that's another contentious one, but this one in particular is affecting a couple of people, but this is a protected tree. So it's just a matter of working with council to try and, save the tree and support the residents that are affected. Yes,
As I understand it, this land used to be Wakatu Incorporation.
the oaks.
The whole lot was Wakatu Incorporation, including the trees. As I used to work there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they did the subdivision, as I've said before, that when they were doing the subdivision, a lot of thought went in, and it was obviously from council, I believe, were saying, hey, you need to look after these trees. And we understood that there was going to be a reserve there. And the building which I used to work at, Parker Panham, Len Parker's, which was, I thought, well, no one's going to be building there either. So they would put all that area, was I understood, was going to be a big green area. Well, they haven't. They put houses there right next to the trees. So you, the council have inherited potential muck up here. And I feel for everyone having to try and sort out the problem, but maybe a bill to Wakatu Incorporation for this. How greedy do you need to be to have a house right there underneath the trees? It was meant to be a lovely big reserve. And now it's just a walkway, isn't it? So.
A romantic lighting.
Oh.
That's interesting. I did not realise that was Wakatu. So Wakatu subdivided it, then you might have to add.
I don't know.
No.
Wakatu, it was.
They did. So they would have had to have gotten resource consent for the subdivision of where they were putting the houses.
Council had to sign the plan.
Right.
But I can't remember what the original plan was and whether they went back and got it modified. I don't know. I can't remember that far back.
Are we talking 20+ years ago then?
So that area there was a lot of contention because they actually dug all the topsoil off, took it away, down the road, built it all up, tried to mill with clay, and then brought all the topsoil back.
Oh.
And then it started flooding all the neighbours on High Street out the front. So engineering staff and the wood council at the time spent mega hours down there trying to work with them and put in a swale through to stop the water running off. And as soon as someone built a house, the first thing, I've got a bloody ditch to the back of my property. Oh, filled it in.
Oh.
So on the finish, we demanded that the developer came back and put a sump in each property and a drain out and piped it out to the high street, and that was the only way we could stop it. Then, that may have been when, I don't know, can't remember, that green space disappeared. I remember the green space because it was where Nick used to work in the banner wedding shop.
You were near the Twin Oak.
Oh, well, we were underneath it.
Yes, so there was lunch every day.
We would, there was also a cattle, there was a cattle loading ramp, and we would use our, fire our banana skins over, so we could,
Composted.
who was the greatest, banana skin thrower. But yeah, they were protected then, you know, they've been protected forever.
Interesting. So the issue is really around the fact that houses were allowed to be built so close to the.
You know, someone's got to, if they are being affected, understand the roofs and gutterings of, you know, is.
No, a kid hurt himself.
Oh, no, that's, I'm not concerned with that.
Child skidded off the scooter trying to navigate path on slippery leaves.
I've skidded off scooters, as you know, so I skidded off a
He
scooter,
wasn't doing a handy slip.
less than a year ago.
You know now.
It's, my missus threatened to put it on Facebook. It's not pleasant. I'm 58, not 18.
Right, so,
Yes.
yeah, I think you're right in the sense that the council's inherited a problem, but potentially also contributed to it by giving resource consent for the houses to be built here.
Well, I think that's a bit harsh. I'm actually going back to the council on this one. Look at that. Goodness, you better. It wasn't their fault.
I'm talking about if the plans went forward to build houses that close to the trees. Because my understanding was, Lynn, and you might be able to clarify, that council actually did try and talk to the developer about not building houses there.
I think 1 or 2 houses.
Yeah.
Quite hard. That shouldn't be happening, but you know, sometimes, you know, if developers can go to the environment court or whatever to overrule council's decision, I don't think it was refused by council, but I don't know that, but I certainly know parts of council really pushed very, very hard not to have houses directly under the tree.
You say, sorry, you can't build these, no two houses.
No, sorry, don't build the houses.
I'm we're talking about brand new houses. Okay, people got money, all right? I'm sorry, the people that are needing community houses that are without a house aren't popping down to spend.
But every house that's emptied from somebody that's
Frees
got
up
money
another house.
Does.
Shot down in flames.
But I know the connotations, but it would be the phone call that we would all get. We're trying to develop, we're trying to build houses, and this bloody tree's stopping us.
Yeah, but
what can you do? And we go upstairs and go, what the heck?
The trees are already there and already protected.
So put another scenario, we're having the same conversation about sea level inundation. Going, why can't we put a house here for the next, and so that's the same rules. We just need to be really careful about.
But we could have movable houses in those areas.
This trees die every now and then.
Yes, they do. But I don't know that it's 100-year lifespan.
I'll be there. The last one you got, somebody tried to kill, fought back.
Okay, number 7 on my list, which is the TRMP 8-week rule. I've just got the updated action as we have the date 25th of July for the workshop. Number 8, request for information from Mr. Drummond. So that request has gone through. I got clarification from Mr. Shafnan that he's not received the court cases. I have emailed Mr. Drummond again today, but I don't know. I'll just have a quick.
He's away through the chair.
Okay, so he's away.
I mean,
To be fair, he was there today.
oh, sorry. He's away Thursday.
He's here. Okay, so so the update on that action is the chair has emailed Mr. Drummond, and perhaps maybe Mr. Kirby might like to just check in with Mr. Drummond, yeah. Do you mind chasing him up, Mr. Kirby? Thank you.
This is an important thing for
Yes.
the community board because they're quoting other court cases about
Which we
people
need to
living
know.
in caravans.
Action list.
Yes, yes,
So
right.
that's the updated action. So we'll see where that comes. Right, number 9 can be closed. There was a blessing at Dex Reserve, which the board did not get invited to. Board member Armstrong did attend.
Well done.
No, but you did attend the one that had been cancelled.
No, it was the correct.
And then but you weren't informed about that there was none. And then we got the word, thank you, councillor Walker, for letting us know.
Me and Smith keep the meeting going pretty long in the afternoon.
And through you, Chair, I have fed that back that the correspondence needs to be
Appreciate that.
better than what it currently has.
Thank you.
Because it is not my job to let people know when these blessings are booked in.
So on that note, sorry.
Some of the people at the Maori people who were at the blessing, and they felt that it was the list of people to invite was provided by
Council.
to the council, and they didn't put our names on it. That's what I was told. That may have been approved.
So Mana Whenua, iwi, local iwi, provided council with a list of invitees and community board when included.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
Said I didn't drill down to precision of it.
Which is why it's really important for that engagement between the two, which is only going one way at the moment.
So I've made that very clear to Tony Strange and to Grant Ruburn, that the awkwardness of that actual event and how it came to be, and many boxes that weren't ticked properly.
Yep.
Not enough chocolate.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so on that note, I move the board report. I have a seconder.
I'll second it.
Board member Hughes, second. Everyone for, against, carried. Okay, so what I might do is just jump to the last section list because Lynn might be able to update, and then we'll go back to financials. So we're on 8.5. Right. Dex Reserve. Okay, we've just sort of spoken about that, haven't we? Anything else to add? Dex Reserve, June, July blessing with iwi. Oh, what I want to know, which date for putting the shovel in the ground?
I only know that the contract has been awarded.
Okay.
So it's very imminent.
Because I'm not sure if you know, Lynn, but we've got our basketball teams ready.
We have.
Yeah. And we are expecting to be playing end of October, I think.
Yeah.
So it's not much time. Yeah, 3x3.
Boys against girls.
So our understanding was it was meant to start today or tomorrow, subject to the weather.
Right, so this
And
week's
I haven't
out
had an update since then.
because the weather's crap.
Exactly.
Okay, so contract awarded, due to start. What week are we in? July. We're in week 4. So by the end of the month? Yeah, given if it was going to be this week.
Presume so. I haven't had an update from Joe, but that's what he told me the other day. I asked him.
Cool. End of July.
So just so you know that a 3x3 is going to be built, and then the playground will be fenced off and the playground equipment will be moved and the water
Maintained?
play will go down and the new equipment installed.
Cool. So the entire playground will be cordoned off or just part?
We didn't drill down as to exactly where the fencing would be, but my understanding is, well, obviously that climbing frame, the rope,
Yeah.
that's
that'll
not
be okay.
changing. That'll be okay, but the other parts is that each part of that area has got some alterations, modifications happening. So I'm picking the whole lot will be closed off, and they have assured me that won't be done in the school holidays.
Cool.
Which now that the weather's turned, it won't anyway, but.
So my next question is, I'm assuming there's a communications plan attached to that and there'll be some signage and promo out to community around what's happening.
I'd seriously like to hope we're not assuming this, that it's actually something that's underway. However, Lynn might like to chase up her team and ensure that the comms team are going to put something nice out there. Joe said it was covered, but then so was the blessing. And I don't think
Okay,
that-
so can we have an action under that same line, I guess? Just to confirm that communication plan for the change, for putting the basketball court and the change of the playground is in place. And that there is signage up, because not everybody is on Facebook, not everybody reads The Guardian. I did go and see Jane at Community House. She didn't know, and she was just worried that it was going to affect their Christmas party because they take some of that area. And I showed her the plans, so they're in the loop now. Okay, Maraho Sandy Bay, I think that's all good. The only AP on that is to remove the
Sorry,
annual.
through you, did Chris Rutterlich get in touch with you, Mr. Kirby from Maraho Association? Because he is going to.
Over.
The funding that we've got here and the process and how it goes.
So this is their
Annual.
well, no,
Was
yeah,
annual, but
so
then it's not supposed to be annual.
so the action will be we need to remove the word annual because it's a one-off in this action, and then yeah, so it went sort of on hold because the group wasn't as active, and then Councillor Walker's.
So there's a whole historical thing that goes behind Maraho and how they got their money and how they only invoice the community board when the
Things
wetlands and things have been done. But it sits as an anomaly. It's not like any other special project and so Chris was mindful, and he apparently has a relationship or connection with you. And when I mentioned that you sat around this table, he said, "Oh, I don't need his details. I will go direct to him and work out a plan moving forward."
Wow.
Us little parts, you.
Going the extra mile. Okay, so we'll leave
Stop
that.
you, my poor.
We'll leave that in Mr. Kirby's. Motueka Cemetery, number 4. So that's underway. Yeah. So I've got here pads have been set. Oh, yeah. So one seat is in basins. No, okay, so that's still happening. I did actually have an afterthought about that around, probably would have been cheaper and easier just putting the sanitizer things in there, but then it's inside and they're always locked. So there was discussion of unlocking. It was only unlocked when there was no-one funerals. But it's a public facility.
But it is only open when there's a general there. I know Steve is thinking about putting them on the outside of the building. So
Yes.
hopefully he will stick with that because then they're available for anybody to use.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know if that is happening because we did talk about that because then I said we only need one at the end instead of 2. So maybe, yeah, we'll check in with them. Cool. Saltwater Baths, that's closed, is it now, Lynn?
It's not closed,
Okay.
it's just not cleaned during winter. So
Oh, sorry, landscaping and
the
improvement.
landscaping, that's underway.
Okay.
So, but only just plants are ordered. We're just doing planting there.
Plants ordered and
Prep has started.
prep started. Okay, number 6, Dex Reserve. We just talked about that, yeah. What have I got carrying on? Don't need to add anything else to that, do we? I'm structured and start construction of 26. Yes, councillor. Yes.
Are you still looking to install that in the seat, at the cemetery. And if you had an email about a person who wants in memory seat that the three of us got.
Oh,
Have you received that?
That wasn't for Mrs. Beach. Yeah, so I'm working with her.
Thank you.
Separately. It's not for the, it's not going into the cemetery, but
Okay.
she wants it around that somewhere.
Okay.
So I'm working.
All right. I'm just trying to save you some money. Thank you. Sorry.
No, she wants by the water.
Okay, that's fine. I'll file that email. Thank you.
Trueways Street. What is this one, guys? New gravel path installed linking to car park. So this is, so this is closed. Yay, so we can close number 7. Oh, great, thanks for that. Okay, Deputy Chair, do you wanna, that one's closed. Do you want to put that in the new one?
So just quick update, the seating that will be ordered through Menshed, the Parapapa Grove.
It will be, yes, but I just need to check in with the neighbours to see where they want that to go.
Yep.
So that's just one picnic table.
On the other side to where the existing one is.
They want it opposite.
They want it on the other side of because the feedback was there's one on one side, Pukeoni Place, but they wanted one Farapapa Grove end.
Okay, it would be good to get that clarified.
Yep, I will. I'll send you a photo.
So the action on number 8, Whakapapa Grove, is Deputy Chair Hart will be sending a photo of the exact area for the seating to Lynn Hall.
And the eyesight map, I'm liaising with Adele, the manager there, to get the correct format. So that's a work in progress. The nest swing, you guys are organising that. The seat at the Coomeras, the picnic table that was going to be the northern end of the Coomeras, Doc are very happy to approve the seat, but they're not going to maintain it. So their question was, if we maintain it or GBC maintains it, then they're happy to give permission. So we probably need to relook at that and maybe move it on. Yeah. So we'll have to, because some of the other special projects feedback was wanting seats down by where the Janie Seddon is, so it may be that we can't see there. So we'll relook at that. The only other update was the Motueka Bridge welcome sign, the third one that's matching. The good news is Troy Chapman from Opus has confirmed that he's happy not to have any traffic management.
Yeah, no traffic management.
So I have that in writing.
So who is liability if something happens?
The person that,
Well,
he was, because
it's not on the road.
Deputy Chair with your car in a cone.
But because it's 8 metres from the road, they're very happy that if it was coned off and all that, his email says it would actually be more dangerous rather than having just leaving it because it's so far off the thing. So I'm happy.
State highway, saying.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so
not your problem.
NZTA and Troy Chapman in writing have said no traffic management.
Yes, thank you.
Yay! So that's a real accomplishment. Yeah. So that's the only thing.
Yeah, it's great.
You'll present him, present when?
Everything else is third party reserves.
Okay. So the concrete pad extensions for those tables that we were talking about under the Motueka Bridge.
Tony was looking into
Tony's doing that one.
Yeah.
So there's 2 tables already within the stock bank area. This is how I understand it, and the request is that they are secured to concrete pads.
To extend the concrete base that's already there, being that the mower cannot reach right into the rim because of the So the tables are too, because they're quite chunky. So you've sort of grass.
There's no,
So that is to extend. Yeah, so that the mower, yeah, so then it's actually a pleasant place to sit. Well, we're hoping that would rectify that. Okay, so that is end of the special projects. I just need to move that.
Board that number 14 is done.
14. Oh, yes, is that I did drive past.
Pretty pleased.
Looks good.
TikTok,
So-
paving the whole 9 yards for the hard vision people, the whole, it's really good.
Is this the quickest project we've managed to tick off our list?
well, they were already working on it, so that's.
Council did it.
Did we hear that? So, so that we can close that. So we can close number 14.
Yeah.
Rat Street, High Street, improving this. Thank you.
Low Street was done at the same time, but that was done in conjunction with the stormwater project.
Yeah.
It's just been finished.
Under budget, on budget,
Sorry,
did it come in under budget, on budget?
I have no idea, haven't got that detail yet. I just went past the other day, so it was finished, polished.
Yeah.
Nice.
We were quoted 7.8, I think, weren't we?
Yeah, marked 10.
7,800.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was thinking another.
We have a 10,000 with traffic management.
Yeah.
No, because that's
already
included
there.
in our quotes.
I know.
So
Just winding you up.
just winding. Okay, so no one needs to add anything else to special projects, so I'll move that we accept that. Can I have a seconder, please? Oh, I'm gonna do board member Armstrong because you two are already on one. And all four, say aye. Against, no, carry, let's go. Okay, thank you.
Through you, Chair, just one, final word from me. And I apologise for my report not being thorough enough, but I have since spoken to the arborist. And that quote does include their generic traffic management. So they have their own generic traffic management, so yes, that's all within that amount.
Thank you.
Sleep
Road
tonight.
paying for it too.
Let me just write this.
We put the
Happy family on Mr. Kirby.
Then your report was very thorough, so I appreciate that.
It was good.
Generic, but I'm interested to know this generic traffic management. Look. Well bang. Okay, financials, right, I got a lot of notes on this, but, okay, so. As you can see on the right-hand column, the budget for 2024-25. We have over 35,500 less than we had budgeted for financial year just now. My understanding, so I did go back to finance, Mr. Manners it was forwarded to him and he's come back to me with answers to my questions, and some of this is in relation to the need for council spending to change, given the long-term plan adjustments, etc. I'd also queried why the board wasn't engaged with doing the budget, because from some of our last workshops, we talked about some of these line items, etc. He basically said he agreed, yeah, that would be great if the board wants to be engaged. They haven't been so in previous boards, so that's why it's just sort of a standard turnover budget. That's some of it's just done automatically as well when they check everything in the general ledger. So there was a couple of things I wanted to note. Number one, community board reimbursements. Budget from last financial year, 7,186. We spent 7,099. Our new budget is 5,805. 85, sorry, so 1,300 less. There's an expectation that will probably go over in that line item. Discretionary fund, the board actually overspent in the last financial year by 1,665. This is another part where I'm sort of like communication back and forth with the board is who gives us an indication, because not all of these amounts come in the reporting timeframe. So we're here thinking we've got this much money, but we don't actually. So there needs to be some comms, and I'm hoping, because I think Gavin's great, he's got so much experience. He's going to be our inside man that will hopefully be across this sort of stuff and give us the heads up. So the thing with the discretionary fund, even though we have overspent, it'll get washed out at the end because there's been a humongous underspend in community board expenses. Now, remember, community board expenses includes training. So we hadn't, I think that was some of the discussion around having that as a separate line item. So the professional development was really evident because expenses and reimbursements sort of seemed to me the same thing. So there was 13,656 not spent. That has now been lost. And now we will drop down to 9,262. And you all know how much I was advocating for us to get some PD done. I just didn't actually, I thought that that was going to get carried over. Just goes. But I don't know, I'm just waiting for some input.
Well, you keep going and then I've got some questions.
Well, no, I thought you had some answers.
So I guess I've got a couple of questions that only probably Mr. Kirby's going to have to find out. So did we strike less of a community board rate in the LTP? So we've
Question that probably needs to be asked of,
but somebody can ask it in this process. So last year was 123,451. This year it's 78,618. So I'm assuming that we reduced a percentage of community board rate, which is a targeted rate, in their whole wash up. I don't remember seeing that, but it has to be because it's 50K less. So the community board rate to our ratepayers must have decreased. The wash up, so hang on, let me read you this email because I went fishing. So thankfully the chair gave me a heads up. So in the 30th of 3rd, 23 from Mike Drummond, as discussed, Brett, I've taken this up with Matt McGlinchey. The community board rates are targeted rates, so would typically be ring fenced in a closed account, i.e. surplus deficit, and any 1 year carries forward. There are a range of costs associated with community boards and they sit within the governance function, which is partly general rates funded. Matt will review the funding, etc. So the same question was asked in March last year, and the answer, and I think David would have been and on that thread, says that community board is ring fenced. And if I go down to the page, the closing equity at the 30th of June 2024 is $216,333. Of that, 161,857 is ring fenced in our different discretionary and special projects grants, which sort of says there's $54,000 sitting in the closed account that could be where your trading money's gone, because the budget's just made on a budget in, budget out. But my question to finance, is there $54,000 of uncommitted discretionary or special project funding from year accumulated surpluses that the community board may be able to access for trading or other bits? And the other part is, did the community board targeted rate decrease? Because it looks like it has. Well, I don't know where it's gone then. Yeah, so the key part is, the question is, end of year, my understanding, community board is a closed account, it's targeted rated, and it's ring fenced and surplus is kept. But we did have that workshop with Mike a few months ago that talked about lessening the impact on the long-term plan. So that could be where that softening's come from, because the other part of that is $11,000 budget on closed account interest. That's another 10K it's another 10K than last year. That makes sense? So I don't know if it's disappeared or it's just gone down to equity held in the closed account.
Driving on the on the balance.
And then, but the community board rate shouldn't have gone down. Because that's per property owner at a certain level of rate.
We didn't go out and consult on that. We didn't engage through.
It still needs to be itemised.
Yeah,
I can't remember either, not when I was involved in those discussions, to be honest.
so that's
You
two
just asked 3
actions.
questions, so are you able to put those into an email to mine, copy me in? Oh, you can. All
He's
right.
done his best to capture them.
Has a targeted community board rate from Motueka decreased because it's showing about 50K less? Is any surplus at the end of the year just held in the closed account, which would account for the equity that's showing in this report? Because the current equity is 216,333. That's the key ones.
Yeah.
And then what is the mechanism for the board to access the equity if they want to?
Fantastic, great question.
So thanks for the because I knew I had an email somewhere.
No.
Oh, I'm less panicked now because it is carried over and it's part.
I don't know, but it looks, there's definitely.
Just clarity would be great.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
I've got fairly big expenses coming in because I'm going to Clip Soto.
Oh, right. We must
No,
take
Yeah, Holiday Park, mate, you're right. It's
No.
just down the road, I'll pick that.
No, I'm going to Kia Soto.
Totally.
Gotta learn how to say it right first.
And I want my money back.
So just also to note, special projects, so the 75,500, which are the new projects that had been moved, are not showing in this. So it's 147,839 less 75,500, which will show in the next month's report. Just so we don't get excited that we've got 140 something thousand in there to spend. Okay, I think that was all. Did anyone else have any?
There is another, on the remuneration side, the remuneration authorities come out with an increase for community board members and chairs. I think
Yes,
Stephen
that's-
mentioned that to you.
But that does next year, no?
That's after our terms.
We're gone.
No.
It's from this month. There you go, Claire. 70 cents an hour now.
So there will be an email with your next pay round letting you.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So you'll find that you're going to be overspent in the remuneration.
That's what Steve was alluding to. I thought he meant like it's about expenses quite high with going in and out. Okay,
To be the following year, we were like, damn, we missed out.
okay, okay, cool.
So I actually understood something. And you guys didn't.
No, well, Claire told me it was next year. So it's fine for it.
No, I'm going to milk this.
Is there anything else, guys? I
No,
think
I'm
I've
really
covered
happy.
everything.
Clarified now.
Yeah, okay.
10 pages.
I'll forget that.
I'll have to read the report.
Okay, so the report's moved by Deputy Chair Hutt. Can I have a seconder, please? Okay, seconded by Board Member Hughes. Hughes, moved by Hutt, second by Hughes. All in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone again? Carried.
Thanks.
That's it. That's it, us.
That's it.
Right, let's just get that there, right?
Oh,
Yes. Hmm? Oh, okay. Yeah. What's this? Oh, we're right to close?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Kua mutu mātou mahi mo tēnei wā, manaaki tia mai, mātou katoa, o mātou hoa, o mātou whānau, ai o ki te aorangi. Thank you, everyone.